Part 101. I'm Really Immortal. Author, Chulian Kuikan Rusiahua. Chapter 1028. As a female college student whose first priority is study, the places where Yan Qingcheng appears most often are classrooms, library study rooms, cafeterias, and dormitories. Now I have an extra tutoring job, and I also go to Bayanzahuntang and the top floor of Bailong Center to take classes. Life is simple and interpersonal interactions are limited, so it is easy to find. Her life is far from as colorful as the female college students in Xiaohongshu, who are all like famous ladies. Yan Qingcheng was a little surprised to receive a call from Bai Hui, but everyone was Zhu Huntang's friend and could be considered an acquaintance. Friends of friends may not be my friends, but if I directly show that I don't treat my friends as friends, I will be suspected of not giving face to my friends. It's better to be tactful, so Yan Qingcheng said. As soon as she saw Bai Hui, he turned his head, adjusted his facial expression slightly, and then turned his head again, showing a light smile. "Hi, what do you want from me?" Yan Qingcheng tried his best to make his tone appear natural and calm, less pretentious in tone, so that he could maintain a normal state of mind and avoid falling into a certain situation centered on Bai Fen. Plant a tea circle. Since entering university, Yan Qingcheng has gained a lot of knowledge, and Bai Hui is one of the people who often makes Yan Qingcheng sigh with emotion. One of the reasons why Yan Qingcheng was wary was that Yan Qingcheng felt that it was normal and understandable that there was a girl like Bai Hui around Lu Chang'an. In the past, she would have said poof twice and then drawn a clear line with these people. My own three views and a lot of common sense are being slowly distorted and changed. This is a situation that deserves vigilance. A person suddenly looks back and realizes that the past self is completely different from the present self. This is a situation where the three views of the past have been completely distorted. For an instant, the current self will feel strange. The past self has disappeared into this world and no longer exists. Which is very scary. Bai Hui turned back to the car and took out the large gift bag containing cosmetics and skincare products. Oh, to show off that she bought a new car? As soon as she had this idea, Yan Qingcheng immediately reflected that she couldn't think of others like this. Only Cha-Cha would subconsciously think like this. Did you buy a new car? It's very nice. Yan Qingcheng decided to give a sincere compliment to satisfy Bai Hui's vanity. Who buys a new car and doesn't want to get some supportive responses when showing it off? Ah, no, this is my cousin's car. It is often parked at Bailong Center. Haven't you seen her driving it? Bai Hui quickly explained that the cousin's car is a limited edition and has a lot of extras. It's much more expensive than the average Maserati Quattroporte, and it's simply not something Bai Fen can afford now. Maybe I have seen it before, I have no impression. This kind of luxury car is too far away from my life. Normally I would not pay attention to these unreachable luxuries. Yan Qingcheng also has the dream of buying a car. She wants to buy one small pickup truck. The use of a small pickup truck is huge. It can pick up and drop off students on rainy days or when floods come. You can buy piglets and lambs from the town to save shipping costs. You can also drag agricultural products from the village to other places for sale, such as you can earn more than $1,000 by selling fresh nectarines. The car in front of her is also very good, but it is not suitable for Yan Qingcheng. Like her mother, she wants to return to her hometown, where there is no road for this kind of car. How could it be? Bai Hui looked at Yan Qingcheng, wondering if Yan Qingcheng was sarcastically saying, "You have already met outstanding people like Lu Chang'an and Xiao Tang, and being in the same circle with outstanding people will make you. I have also become better, and at least I have the opportunity to get help and the capital to leapfrog. If you get strong enough help at a critical moment, your life may be changed. An opportunity that we ordinary people can hardly find in our lives. With people like Lu Chang'an and Xiao Tang in the eyes, it's often just a matter of effort." Yan Qingcheng smiled and nodded. Bai Hui was right. He was very utilitarian and realistic. Moreover, Yan Qingcheng did not think that Bai Hui really relied on others to support him. Now Bai Hui has become a well-known short video up host, and she succeeded in her own efforts. On the other hand, it can be said that I rely on Lu Chang'an to take care of me for my income from tutoring. The inner reserve and pride of a poor girl are not so stubborn when facing reality. Always rejecting the simple kindness of others and acting aloof and resigned to poverty, this is not a choice Yan Qingcheng would make. By the way, these are the cosmetics and skincare products that Professor Lu asked me to buy for you. Bai Hui almost forgot about the formality and handed over the gift bag. Ah, why did I entrust you? Yan Qingcheng did not take it immediately, but just glanced at Bai Hui in confusion. Bai Hui was also a little surprised. Yan Qingcheng's eyes were vaguely wary, as if he couldn't accept that Professor Lu would ask Bai Hui to do something. How do you know Professor Lu? Yan Qingcheng asked. She remembered that when she was at Nanshan Ranch, Bai Hui only said that she had read Professor Liu's diary, but did not say that she knew Professor Lu. I. Bai Hui felt that Yan Qingcheng's posture was a bit aggressive at this moment, as if she suddenly found Bai Hui raising a hoe in front of her, and she was ready to grab the hoe and dig back. Leaving Bai Hui, I couldn't help but take 2 steps back to be careful of hurting someone with my hoe. Yan Qingcheng watched Bai Hui retreat, but she came back to her senses, reached out to take the big gift bag, and smiled again. I'm sorry, mainly because Professor Lu doesn't show up often. I was with him at Teacher Qin's house a few days ago. We cooked dinner together, and he also asked Lu Chang'an to take care of me at school, but I haven't seen him in the past few days. I thought that the elders were very busy and it was not convenient to contact them casually, but I didn't expect that he and you still have a relationship. Communicate. Listening to her words, Bai Hui felt suspicious. This Yan Qingcheng seemed to be very concerned about Bai Hui's contact with Professor Lu. Was he planning to do something as a parent? But if she is planning to take this route to do something, then she shouldn't be exposed directly. Wouldn't it be a reminder to Bai Hui to take the elder route? Bai Hui felt that Yan Qingcheng was showing off her close relationship with Professor Lu, cooking dinner together, and asking Lu Chang'an to take more care of her at school, as if she had found a new father. Ahem, actually, he asked Lu Chang'an to buy it, but Lu Chang'an is not very familiar with this kind of thing, so of course he asked me to help. We drove to a shopping mall together and chose the most suitable one for you. He didn't want people to gossip about cosmetics and skincare products for skin types, so he asked me to send them over and said that Professor Lu asked me to help buy them. Bai Hui explained in words while carefully observing Yan Qingcheng's expression. Since Yan Qingcheng was showing off her close relationship with Professor Lu, Bai Hui told her that she had a good relationship with Lu Chang'an. Asking Bai Hui to handle such private matters meant that he and Bai Hui were very close and he cared about what others said about him. He gossips with Yan Qingcheng, but he doesn't shy away from getting along with Bai Hui and doesn't care about gossip. Oh, it turns out that Professor Lu is not looking for you, it's Lu Chang'an who is looking for you. Yan Qingcheng brushed the hair on one side of her face with her fingers, showing a somewhat reserved look, and her posture became more upright and polite. Holding a big gift bag and smiling slightly, he bent down and thanked you. I'm sorry to trouble you. No trouble, I went back to school with Lu Chang'an and bought it on the way. I also bought a tablet for Dandan to play with. Bai Hui decided to bring Dandan out again to show that she was deeply involved in Lu Chang'an's circle of relatives and friends. I still have to thank you. Professor Lu doesn't know about cosmetics and skincare products, and Lu Chang'an definitely doesn't know either. Thanks to you, you are an expert in this field, and the ones you choose will definitely be suitable. Yan Qingcheng thanked him again. No. It's okay. Class is about to start. I'm leaving too. Bai Hui returned to the car in confusion. When he started the car, he saw Yan Qingcheng waving from behind. He watched the car drive away before returning. Library? What's going on with Yan Qingcheng? Bai Hui was very sure that Yan Qingchen was very concerned about Bai Hui's connection with Professor Lu, but he didn't care when Bai Hui brought out Lu Chang'an and Dan Dan. This Yan Qingchen has an electric complex? He's not very cool with his peers, but he has a soft spot for Lu Chang'an's father? It's a little exciting, but it has nothing to do with me. Beautiful girls who have been immersed in the two-dimensional act culture for a long time are not disgusted. Bai Hui is actually not sure, but her vigilance towards Yan Qingchen has relaxed a lot. She still has to take the time to talk to Xiao Tang about this matter and ask her to help analyze it. Xiao Tang always thinks about these messy things. His insights are unique and accurate, and he can hit the nail on the head in other people's lungs. At this time, the sound of helicopters was heard in the sky. Xiao Tang came to class. Let's see if she is free at noon. Yan Qingchen went back to the library to pack her textbook bag. Class was about to start, and she didn't have time to rush back to the dormitory to put things away, so she carried the big gift bag to the classroom. In the classroom, Lu Chang'an was already sitting in the back row. Zhu Huntang tilted his head and leaned on Lu Chang'an's shoulder. He was holding two dinosaur models in his hands and was playing a dinosaur fighting game like a primary school student, while making baa sounds from his mouth. As if her dinosaur also barked like a sheep. Seeing Lu Chang'an's eyes paying attention to her, Yan Qingchen picked up the big gift bag in her hand and nodded and smiled from a distance to express her gratitude. Lu Chang'an also nodded, just receive it. The things were sent by Bai Hui. If Yan Qingchen had any problems with skincare and makeup, she would probably ask Bai Hui for advice. The relationship between the two would definitely improve a lot. Although girls have talents in makeup and skincare, they still have to go through a learning process. They are not able to master it with ease. Take Shang Guandandan and Zhou Shuling as examples. These two people always make themselves up to look like Sun Wukong. I think I have learned it, but I only have the confidence to apply lipstick. What is she looking at you for? You still have an expression that says nothing, and the corner of your eyes glances at me, which may also contain a lot of provocation and pride, Zhu Huntang said angrily, holding a dinosaur in one hand. The conclusion of psychological analysis of micro-expressions. If there was a real dinosaur in his hand, he would definitely throw it out, bleating loudly, roaring, and biting Yan Qingchen. You are so talented, you should study psychology-related majors. It's not too late to change your major. Lu Chang'an was a little puzzled. Yan Qingchen is such an outstanding and well-behaved girl. Zhu Huntang and Bai Hui are too. The fairy is always looking at other people's problems. Since I'm so talented, why do I still need to study? Of course, I just need to use some leisure time and apply practice in daily life, so as to reach a level comparable to professionals. Zhu Huntang dismissed it. She also knew many people who claimed to be able to a psychology major who could see through people's hearts and no one could lie in front of them, but during the test they couldn't guess what Zhu Huntang was thinking. This also proves that Zhu Huntang has a deep scheming mind, has the forbidden city in his heart, and is completely unpredictable to others. He is a little bear like Lu Bang and Cao. Isn't your mother going to lock you up for a day? How come you were released in the morning? Lu Chang'an frowned. Sure enough, Zhu Huntang should be angry with Sumei, so that he could just watch happily. He even felt that she was angry with Sumei. Sometimes a little silly and cute. Now that she was by his side again, she felt completely different, returning to the past time. My mother said we can't delay the class time and lock me up after class. After Zhu Huntang finished speaking, he was surprised to find that he quietly changed the topic. He quickly stared at Yan Qingchen in the front row warily to see if she was still there. Will you look back at Lu Chang'an? Although what she said was quite miserable, there was no sign of self-pity on her expression. Lu Chang'an wondered if Sumei had always locked her up so casually that she was used to it. This is true. When a trace of pity arose in his heart, Lu Chang'an quickly hardened his heart. This sheep had to be disciplined like this. Oh, I'm really immortal. Author, Chulian Kuikan Rusiahua. Chapter 1029. Zhu Huntang observed Yan Qingcheng carefully. She did not turn around and looked at Lu Chang'an, and then looked at her with a look like, "Daddy, do you think I am better than me? Do you like me more?" When Yan Qingcheng entered the classroom, she was carrying a large bag of things and was cooing with Tong 11, just like when Lu Chang'an gave her delicious food yesterday. Childish, must be showing off, just like a child buying a new toy. Zhu Huntang thought this way, and suddenly doubts reappeared. Could it be that Lu Chang'an bought her another can of lychees? No, there is no reason to buy canned lychees 2 days in a row. Zhu Huntang couldn't help shaking his head, as if his head was still stuck. Canned lychees have become Bimi's lifelong enemy. I'm going to see what Yan Qingcheng brought to the classroom. Zhu Huntang put 2 dinosaur models on Lu Chang'an's shoulders, one on the left and the other on the right, and prepared to get up to do some reconnaissance. "Sit down." Lu Chang'an pulled her back, telling her to run over and have a look, and not attend this class. She might end up rolling around in the classroom later. "I've obviously suppressed your right and left arms with dinosaurs, why can you still move?" Zhu Huntang had no choice but to give up, and after sitting down, he took back his dinosaur and cupped his hands with an expression of admiration, as expected of the master of the 9 provinces Fenglai sword sect, with the power to slay dragons. "Thank you, you are the real dragon slayer." Lu Chang'an admired her even more. After all, in countless years, except for the meteorite that destroyed the world, the only one who could really hurt his heart was Zhu Huntang. "My mother said she would give me a real dinosaur, and I will give it to you to play with." Zhu Huntang brought 2 dinosaur models to class, just to get familiar with how to control them. Like many people, before going to a driving school to learn to drive, Zhu Huntang, it's like buying Autobot toys. "Give you a real dinosaur?" Lu Chang'an couldn't help but have doubts in his heart. "I often hear you say that your mother doesn't allow you to do this or that. This is actually your perspective. If I ask about it from others, your mother is actually very obedient to you. Shun, arrogant and pampered." After saying that, Lu Chang'an was sure that this was probably the case, but he woke up a little late. Faced with this question, he was actually a little deceived and fooled by her. He just listened to her nonsense without asking more. "Yes, I have had a blee for so many years, so why not for Sume?" Sume was not that big to begin with, and most of her short life was spent nurturing this little baby. After she was born, she thought this was some kind of rare and precious baby, right? In other words, Sume's so-called severity is already her doing her best to suppress her doting instinct in discipline? No wonder when Lu Chang'an and Zhongqing asked her to remind Zhu Huntang that she was not a fairy, Zhongqing actually confidently said that Zhu Huntang was a little fairy. This is the result of extreme arrogance and pampering. First of all, you have to have Sume's attitude, and then the people below will blow together and make Zhu Huntang fly in the sky. Alas, Lu Chang'an suddenly became pessimistic and called Sume back to Juncha. There was probably nothing he could hope for. There is no obedience at all. Today I asked her to build a tunnel to the Antarctic so that I can play with the dinosaurs, but she didn't agree. You said that she can't even tunnel, so what do you think? She has mastered the top level of black technology. Scientist. We can't count on her if we fight in tunnel battles in the future. Lu Chang'an stopped talking, opened the textbook, and entered the learning barrier. Note, this barrier can block all people who don't like to study and are not good at studying. After class at noon, Zhu Huntang followed Lu Chang'an out of the classroom with 2 dinosaurs in his hands. She knew that An Nuan would come to pick Lu Chang'an up for dinner, and as his little friend, she had no problem following along. Only those who are ugly, talk disgustingly, and have no self-awareness are considered light bulbs. Beautiful girls who are good-looking, smart, and loved by everyone are not considered light bulbs. Is An Nuan's car one of those that is so cheap that it might roll over while driving? Zhu Huntang was a little worried about safety. She had never ridden in such a cheap car. Yes. Lu Chang'an nodded. I suggest you take your bulletproof car and go to your building with countless surveillance cameras and high-level password blast-proof doors for dinner and lunch. Don't hang out with us. You obviously love me so much, but you still act like you dislike me so much. Zhu Huntang chuckled, stuffed the dinosaur into Lu Chang'an's pocket, and then took Lu Chang'an's hand and shook it, a little bit like turning into a lamb. Jumping around with him, making him feel extremely cute. This arrogant and aloof father is also very cute. Lu Chang'an sneered, disdaining to pay attention to her or refute. At this time, Nuan's car hadn't arrived yet, and the Maserati, which had a high rate of turning heads, appeared. A white anise looking around emerged and waved to Zhu Huntang. Zhu Huntang walked over, the two of them whispered a few words to each other, Zhu Huntang got in the back seat, and Bai Hui drove away. You. Lu Chang'an pointed out his hand. Just a moment ago, he was so sticky that he wanted to be Lu Chang'an's little tail, and followed him to eat and drink. However, when he turned around and saw Bai Hui, a kindred fairy, he forgot about Lu Chang'an. But as soon as Zhu Huntang left, the scattered breadmen and cars also left with him, leaving a lot of space in front of the teaching building. There was no way to find someone to take over the two dinosaur models, so he had to hold them in his own hands. The model is substantial and the workmanship is quite exquisite. The skin texture and eyes are lifelike, very close to the posture of a real dinosaur. In fact, most people in the world have seen dinosaurs in various postures. Chickens are the descendants of dinosaurs. As long as you go to the poultry counter of the supermarket, find a plucked chicken, pull it up and keep it in a slightly squatting posture with its neck stretched out and its legs stretched out, you will be shocked to find that this damn chicken has the look and posture of a dinosaur. Just be sure to remember to buy this dinosaur later, lest the salesperson at the counter refuses to buy it when she sees you playing with her dinosaur, and may become resentful or even beat you in revenge, which may trigger public opinion against men and women, affect stability, and tear society apart. Yes, you have to be careful. If you meet a friend with poor knowledge, you can tease him by saying that you ate fried dinosaurs, spicy male dinosaur noodles in red soup, etc. today, and then when the other person looks confused, you can proudly show off your chicken. Just the knowledge of dinosaurs can bring you friendship and admiration. Recalling his knowledge of dinosaurs, Lu Chang'an saw Nuan's Volvo driving over. Nuan had calculated at the beginning that Bai Hui was closer to Lu Chang'an than she was, which was also realistic. They drove here after class, and Bai Hui arrived earlier than Nuan. What are you doing with two dinosaurs? Nuan asked casually, sitting in the car and looking around, but found nothing suspicious. Maybe Cha-Cha has left. After all, she is far away, and Cha-Cha is always used to appearing quietly to attract his attention in places not far or near, and then quietly leaving before her arrival, as if she has never flirted with anyone or messed up. In the human heart, just the fragrance of flowers scattered with the wind, inadvertently entering his breath. Zhu Huntang said that her mother would give her a dinosaur. First, use the dinosaur model to familiarize yourself with how to walk the dinosaur. After Lu Chang'an finished speaking, he glanced at Nuan's soft belly. Miss Third's mother, there shouldn't be anything we can do to deal with her, right? I think she acts like a naughty child who does whatever she wants all day long and no one can control her. Nuan smiled and shook her head. Her keen intuition and analytical skills were still very reliable. At first, her mother always felt that Nuan was jealous of Zhu Huntang, and felt that Zhu Huntang was Nuan's biggest emotional crisis. Now that my mother has given Zhu Huntang several lessons and has more contact with her, she has never said such words again. Don't laugh, our children may look like Zhu Huntang in the future. Lu Chang'an reached out and touched Nuan's abdomen, sighing with some vigilance. He has been made by Zhu Huntang and has no confidence in future generations. Qin Yanan has always been careful to guard against Zhu Huntang's contamination, but when he hears the name Lu Qianqian, he feels like Zhou Dongdong, Shang Guandandan, Zhu Mai, etc. people are all the way. It's just that at the beginning, he praised Qin Yanan for getting a good name, but now he wants to propose a name change, but he can't say it out loud. What's more, as a young man in the new era, do you still believe in the feudal superstition that changing your name can change your life? Ah, I hate it. I told you, the digestive system can't get pregnant. Even if you get pregnant, it's still an ectopic pregnancy, right? And Nuan's cheeks turned red. The girl was worried about such a major life event as giving birth to a baby. It was normal, but fortunately her boyfriend was an omnipotent Superman. And Nuan didn't think she might have difficulty giving birth in the future, but she was not mentally prepared to suddenly talk about such a topic. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I'm really immortal. Author, Chulian Kui Kan Ru Xiahua. Chapter 1030. Lu Chang'an holds a completely different view from An Nuan. After all, An Nuan is young and has little experience. He is inevitably affected by the existing knowledge structure and is often unable to break through conventional thinking. The reproduction of living things is actually diverse, and the many sudden mutation and reproduction methods are also exciting and very interesting. For example, based on current human surveys, the largest single organism in the world is a forest in Utah, with nearly 50,000 plants on the ground and an overall weight of 6 million kilograms. This forest is actually a Pando clone tree. All plants grow from the roots of the mother tree. Because the DNA of each plant is exactly the same, they are recognized as a single organism. In addition, there is a fungus in a forest park in the country. It is the kind of mushroom in the chicken stewed mushroom that northeastern people love to eat. A large area has grown for 2,400 years and is as big as more than 1,000 football fields. In fact, they are not the largest and most interesting single organisms. When Lu Chang'an was swimming around the exile country, he accidentally encountered a vast expanse of water plants. When he gently touched them, he found that these water plants were moaning happily. Later, he studied them carefully. Only then did I discover that this aquatic plant actually has double chromosomes, which means that it has completely preserved the genes of its parents, instead of taking half from the father and half from the mother like its similar aquatic plants. Because this aquatic plant has such a unique reproduction phenomenon, it cannot give birth to more aquatic babies with other aquatic plants, so it mutated a new way of reproduction, copying itself, and countless aquatic plants with the same rhizome grew over a few aquatic plants. 100 square kilometers of sea area is enough to cover the entire main urban area of Juncha. Biological reproduction is sometimes very casual and does not have to abide by immutable rules. It is not impossible for An Nuan to have an ectopic pregnancy one day. With Lu Chang'an's nutritional supplements to strengthen her body, An Nuan's ectopic pregnancy was not dangerous. Of course, An Nuan may not be willing to this unconventional way of reproduction, but she still needs to respect her own ideas. It's a bit too early to talk about such a topic now. Lu Chang'an is not an ordinary man, and the old Chinese medicine doctor on the telephone pole is not of much help to him. How about we think about the name first? Lu Chang'an thought for a while. This is also a very important thing. An Nuan pursed her lips and glanced sideways at him. The blush on her cheeks gathered next to her smile, like pink petals blooming. After two people have a relationship, they always think about whether they will be pregnant with his child, but thinking about a name is a bit beyond the scope. What name do you think of? After An Nuan finished speaking, she laughed out loud. Actually, I thought of something. When I traveled to northeast China with my mother when I was a child, there were writings on the walls in many places there. It was An Nuan, and there was a phone number on the back. I was very curious at the time, So I called a number and said excitedly, "Is your name An Nuan? Your name is similar to mine, my name is An Nuan." Lu Chang'an laughed and couldn't help but raise his hand to touch An Nuan's long hair. "This beautiful girl is so interesting. It's great to meet her when she has grown up, but I also want to know how cute she is when she is little. In short, you still have to be careful when choosing a name. I see that many young parents nowadays give their children names like those of the heroes and heroines in third-rate idol dramas and female pornographic novels. It is tacky and uneducated," and Nuan said a little embarrassedly. Said, "Since I was in the 5th or 6th grade of elementary school, I have also changed some names for myself that I feel ashamed to talk about now. No matter how shameful it is, it's probably better than claiming to be the princess of the colorful glazed pure white wonderland and being complacent about it." Lu Chang'an shook his head. Such a title is extremely shameful in Lu Chang'an's eyes. And Nuan is embarrassed to say that she thinks this title is quite fairy tale and romantic, especially since Zhu Huntang already has a matching temperament. This eldest lady, her words and deeds are caused by her growth experience and living environment. She is carefree, does whatever she wants, and can always get her dreams come true, which makes her a little naive and takes things for granted. At the same time, the background of a top chaebol, surrounded by various, she is such a big thinker, and her insights and thinking are sharp and in-depth that ordinary girls like me cannot achieve." And Nuan reached over and touched her boyfriend's thigh to comfort her. "You don't have to focus only on her childish parts. Zhu Huntang has more advantages." And Nuan was speaking for Zhu Huntang, but also quietly hinting that Zhu Huntang was actually justified in thinking that she was a fairy. If she didn't have this kind of confidence and upbringing environment, but still thought that she was a fairy, she didn't know how. Is something going on? Are you a little confused? Are you a little out of your mind? Lu Chang'an pressed An Nuan's hand. In Lu Chang'an's eyes, Zhu Huntang was a little expert in seeking death, a little cotton-padded jacket with holes that leaked wind and water and was poisonous. However, she had a very good image in the eyes of others. She talked nonsense with people all day long and acted nonsense. And can also gain favor and recognition from others. Think about it carefully, among the women and girls around you, they all have people who are unhappy with them, and people who are uncomfortable with them. Only Zhu Huntang, no one is tit for tat with her, and no one dislikes her, but she is good relationship with everyone. The key is that Zhu Huntang is obviously still jumping around among them, stirring up trouble everywhere, first helping this one plot against that one, and then coming to help that one make plans and stir up trouble, lest the world will not be in chaos. She has some ability, she must also have some ability. Otherwise, if she is really useless, but he can't handle her, doesn't it mean that he is also, it's nothing. Lu Chang'an doesn't want to analyze this feeling because he was unintentionally betrayed by Zhu Jun. It's a question of deviating ideas. Let's talk about which cafeteria we are going to eat today. Ladies and uncles in the cafeteria at the business school, have you done it? Lu Chang'an asked with a smile. Ha, I'm going to have a big dinner today, and I have a treat. Can I still bring my family members? My family, I hate it, you are just my accessory. And Nuan was shy. Isn't it an accessory? What a match, you hate it? I'm a little dirty sometimes, and it's all because of you. And Nuan Jiao said angrily and hit people. In fact, he was quite elegant and didn't say that he was a piece of shit or anything. Who's treating? Lu Chang'an always likes to actively participate when someone is treating someone. The improvement of his relationship with Zhongqing started when Zhongqing frequently invited guests to barbecue. There is a girl in our class who usually plays well. Her boyfriend came to see her and invited us to dinner. She can bring her family members to attend. And Nuan smiled slightly, showing a teasing smile. My boyfriend is also a photographer, and we met on an appointment. What does it mean to be a photographer? Lu Chang'an was very dissatisfied. He didn't want to be a photographer. I'm just a photography enthusiast and your photographer. Ah, you. You haven't even taken pictures of my private room, so what kind of photographer are you? And Nuan was quite looking forward to the two of them hiding in the room to take various private photos. Especially girls who are a little bit dirty, they have some ideas and creativity about this kind of thing. They feel that they want to show their charm to the fullest, like a peerless enchantment. Looking at the temptation of the camera, he has no intention of filming, he just wants to perform with her. As for being completely incompetent when it comes to the situation and turning into a zombie baby that dare not move, that is another matter. You have taken pictures yourself and often sent them to me. Lu Chang'an took out his mobile phone and prepared to show her her own private photos. I'm driving. Don't force me to stop and fight with you, and Nuan's cheeks were red and she threatened him not to show it. It's okay to send him a selfie when the two of them are not together, but a car on the road in broad daylight, when I look at it, I always feel a little ashamed. Lu Chang'an gave up, lest she become angry and it would be difficult to ask her to take selfies again. Little girls are usually full of dirty things, but they are actually quite shy. Hey, your cousin's car. And Nuan looked ahead and immediately took a look at the champagne-colored Bentley sports car that she had not seen a few times but was impressive. This kind of car is just like Qin Yinan. It is the favorite style of men. It is also a bit low-key and boring. It is not as arrogant as other supercars in the same price range, but when you step on the accelerator, it will still make a roar that makes men's heartstrings twitch. No, the engine noise. Well, they are right next to you. The woman next to Qin Yinan, who is not as tall as you, not as good as you, not as long as your legs, and not as good looking as you, is called Qin Zisi. She is Qin Yinan's cousin, Lu Chang'an introduced. And Nuan nodded calmly. Qin Yinan's cousin, another cousin of Lu Chang'an, probably didn't have an engagement, especially next to Qin Yinan. She was somewhat dim, even if Lu Chang'an didn't add a lot of without UXX, and Nuan will not feel that there is a big threat. The person in the wheelchair is Jin Ho. Didn't Professor Ling go to visit the principal's wife who was hospitalized because her son went crazy a while ago? It seems that Qin Zisi suspects that there is something wrong with Jin Ho going crazy and is investigating. Lu Chang'an clicked. Nodding, Qin Zisi's acumen in investigating cases is still enough. Her main task in coming to Juncha this time is the Minotaur family murder case. Now she is here to investigate a case that does not seem to have much abnormality on the surface. Mostly she suspects that there is something between the two. Association. Is she a policeman? And Nuan looked at Qin Zisi, and then she felt that Qin Zisi's temperament was indeed very different from Qin Yinan's. Qin Yinan looked like Sudaji, while Qin Zisi looked more like a good woman. Almost. Let's go quickly. Let them see us. Maybe they will come to chat and ask, which will delay our dinner. Lu Chang'an waved his hand, signaling and Nuan not to watch the fun. He has said so. Just think that he is worried about delaying the meal, rather than worrying about Nuan and Qin Yinan having a happy meeting and getting him involved, leaving him torn between feeling sorry for his cousin or favoring his girlfriend. I am really gentle, considerate, and Nuan thought, and pinched Lu Chang'an's thigh. AO monthly ticket, 77, the same number, please give me a monthly ticket. I'm really immortal. Author, Chulian Kui Kan Ru Xiahua. Chapter 1031. Qin Zisi and Qin Yinan stood together, very eye-catching. They were originally going to Principal Jin's house to investigate and inquire, but they didn't expect to meet Jin Ho's uncle Lu Songqing on the way, pushing him to relax outside. Qin Yinan wore a pair of Jimmy Choo's sheepskin leather pearl-embellished high-heeled shoes. The round and lustrous pearls on the shoelaces were the same color as the skin of the instep. Under the thin and elegant trousers, the slender calves extend straight upward. The tall body is full of the oppression of a very tall woman, which makes many men just want to keep a distance from her, so that she looks taller than she actually is. The gap is a little less. Qin Zisi is actually a bit inferior to Qin Yinan in all aspects, but she is wearing the work uniform of the Public Security Department, which is also a heavy top and starched trousers. The uniform temperament preferred by men is also very eye-catching. Especially her heroic face and sharp eyes make people feel guilty when they look at her. It seemed like someone was staring at us just now. Chinzasi was keenly aware of it. Looking around, he only saw a red Volvo driving slowly away, and there were no suspicious people parked around it. As long as I'm not at home, someone is staring at me almost all the time. Qin Yinan was used to it, so he didn't take it seriously. Instead, he smelled a smell of sour vinegar in the air, and he didn't know where it came from. No, it's the feeling of criminals returning to the scene to take stock. Chinzasi frowned slightly. This feeling was very sudden and relatively weak. She was not completely sure. She couldn't just rely on this intuition to judge what was happening around her. Everyone should investigate it. No. Isn't it? Lu Songqing was startled. In ordinary people's minds, university campuses are still very safe. If criminals come back, Lu Songqing will never dare to push Jinho around here again. Hanging out? Nothing. Let me tell you about my irresponsible speculation in private. From the analysis of the current situation, the criminal's methods are very sophisticated and experienced. He is very confident and even arrogant. When he committed the crime, he thought he could save Jinho's life. Then he won't target Jinho again, because that means he admitted that he did something stupid, Chinzasi said casually. Qin Yinan opened her mouth slightly and briefly watched her cousin handle the case. She found that Chinzasi's growth in recent years was amazing. Isn't my brother very confident or even arrogant in many things? He saved Jinho's life, and according to his brother's style, he would not target Jinho again. Qin Yinan actually didn't think that what happened to Principal Jin was related to Lu Chang'an at first, but after following Chinzasi to learn more about the case, he found out that Jinho had tried to poach Lu Chang'an before the accident, and he guessed something about it. Recalling a little, Qin Yinan remembered that on the day of Jinho's accident, his brother sent Yan Hui to the mountain first, then left to do errands, and then returned to the top of Lushan Mountain very late to give himself and Yan Hui a massage, and even ate handcuffs together. Lamb ribs, an innocent plot that could have written 20,000 words in 2011, continuation chapter 210, The Tenderness of the Queen Mother. That's good, that's good. Lu Songqing breathed a sigh of relief and stooped slightly, looking humble and timid. In fact, it was not because he was afraid of Zhang's Hongai that he made such a gesture. It was mainly because he was facing these two young women named Qin, which put too much pressure on him. Qin Yinan works at Hunan University, and Principal Jin has naturally warned his family about such a great person coming to the school. In recent years, the most common thing Principal Jin has told me at home is, don't cause trouble outside, don't use my name when you get into trouble, don't use your job title on the phone, and it's best to send messages if something happens, and delete the messages immediately after they are sent. I wonder if these two women surnamed Qin also receive such advice at home. Anyway, in recent years, who among the people working in the system has not warned their families like this? Sorry to trouble you, I may disturb Principal Jin and his family again recently, Chinzasi said to Lu Songqing. It's okay. We will cooperate fully and hope that the murderer can be arrested and brought to justice as soon as possible. Lu Songqing quickly pushed Jinho away. White lady, white lady. Jinho stared at Qin Yinan and Chinzasi, drooling and talking nonsense. Chinzasi watched the backs of Jinho and Lu Songqing disappear into the crowd, and then turned back to Qin Yinan and said, the preliminary investigation result of the Public Security Bureau here in Junxia is that the Nanyang man Zhang Hongai is very suspected of committing the crime. We are based on Zhang Hongai's domestic information contact person for tracing. From your tone, Zhang Hongai didn't do it, Qin Yinan asked curiously. The investigation showed that Zhang Hongai was the last person who had close contact with Jinho and disappeared after Jinho's accident. Zhang Honggai is very famous in Nanyang and can be regarded as a master of martial arts. He once came to our country for martial arts exchanges on behalf of Nanyang. He was only injured in the leg with a gun. Later, Li Huaji personally came forward to negotiate with China, shipping Qin Ziyi didn't even think about it for a moment. I was not idle and took a detailed look at all the information collected by the Juncha Public Security Bureau. Li Huaji, the woman who claims to truly control Nanyang, Qin Yanan was also surprised when he heard this. Now Zhang Honggai disappeared mysteriously in Juncha. If he disappeared in Zhonghai, he didn't know what would happen. It is very possible for a person like Zhang Honggai to make friends with a wealthy man like Jin Ho through an intermediary. After all, universities in Nanyang also want to actively expand the study abroad market. Zhang Honggai can contact Hunan University through Jin Ho, but he took the risk to drive the son of a famous university president crazy. What good will it do to him? If someone asked Zhang Honggai to take action, it seems impossible to do it so carelessly. Qin Ziyi actually did not believe that Zhang Honggai drove Jin Ho crazy. However, the physical evidence on the surface currently points to Zhang Honggai. At present, the only way to conduct further investigation is to find Zhang Honggai's person, or body. You don't seem to be here to handle ordinary cases. After all, you still think this matter has something to do with the alien beasts that are flooding the county, right? Qin Yanan doesn't care about the troubles at Principal Jin's family at all. She just wants to know if Qin Ziyi suspects Lu Chang'an. Yes, there are many clues, scenes, and characters in this case that should have appeared in some video surveillance, but the results were completely absent. This is not something ordinary people can do by evading surveillance. Only those alien beasts with special abilities can make it happen. Qin Ziyi frowned. The alien beasts will make our country work hard for many years. The Skynet system that cost trillions to build is useless. From this point of view, they must be dealt with. Qin Ziyi originally didn't want his cousin to get involved, but after briefly talking to his cousin about the mission to Juncha yesterday, his cousin actually took the initiative to mention the strange beasts in Juncha, so Qin Ziyi asked Qin Yanan to help find someone to talk to. At that time, there was no need to deliberately conceal the incident of the alien beasts in Juncha. In other words, the other party left no clue at all, just one clue. Qin Yanan looked at Qin Ziyi with some sympathy. The cousin's case was destined to be unsolvable, but she wanted to trouble the alien beast, and Qin Yanan was still willing to support her. It can be said that at the same time, Jin Ho had a conflict with Lu Chang'an before the accident. I think he may know something inside. Qin Ziyi came to Hunan University for another purpose, to find Lu Chang'an. He might be the murderer. It's strange that you can get the inside information from him. However, Qin Yanan is very willing to accompany Qin Ziyi to find Lu Chang'an, because in front of her cousin, she can be Lu Chang'an's cousin again. This feeling is quite prickly, quite interesting. Thinking of this, Qin Yanan unbuttoned the front of her jacket and took a deep breath to make her waist thinner and her trousers drop slightly to make her buttocks fuller. This is called Sister Qin's temptation. When Lu Chang'an and An Nuan came to the place, the name of the restaurant was Gui Chu Lai 11. This word was taken from Tao Yuanming's Gui Chu Lai 11, Gui Chu Lai 11. The fields are about to become barren, and the barbarians will not return. The restaurant specializes in local farm food. It also has a small yard in front of the entrance and raised a few chickens in it. The smell of chicken excrement is generally unbearable for city people, and when the chicken grows up, such a fence can't stop it. When it gets interested, it will fly outside the wall to chase freedom. Almost every household in rural areas raises chickens. And peasant women often make clucking sounds to tease and chase chickens that have escaped from their homes. Lu Chang'an missed the local chickens in the village in the early years. The chickens were so delicious and tender that they were now sold under various brands in supermarkets. The so-called local chicken is difficult to compare with. It can be said that it does not feel like a species. Can we catch the chickens that escaped? And Nuan always felt that it was not easy to make money in the countryside, and felt a little sorry for him. Generally, it works. Everyone in the countryside is familiar with it, and they are even familiar with other people's chickens. I often see other people's chickens coming to my house to look for food, so I will catch them and send them back and say, "Old Lius, you guys de Nuan came to eat my food again, so you have to give me 2 ounces of grain." Then the old Lu family said, "Look at its chicken belly, how can it eat your 2 ounces of grain?" Lu Chang'an imitated the farmer's example vividly. Tone. What de Nuan? The old Liu's chicken is of course Xiao Lu, and Nuan was amused by him. When he saw his classmate Liang Jiao and her boyfriend Wang Wenchen standing at the door of the restaurant, Wang Wenchen's expression was even more difficult to explain. As if he just heard what Lu Chang'an said just now, he quickly went up to greet him with a smile. Lu Chang'an stretched his head and took a look at the chickens. They were ordinary 3 yellow chickens. They were kept as small landscape animals. They probably wouldn't feel bad if they ran away. The sign in the store said they had bamboo chickens to eat, which made people a little bit excited. At this time, his cell phone rang. He glanced at it casually and saw that it was Bai Hui calling. Thinking that Bai Hui should be with Zhu Huntang at this time, he frowned and picked up the call. "Lu Chang'an, Xiao Tang has been crying and rolling in the car." Bai Hui's voice was panicked. Lu Chang'an couldn't help but move the phone away. Zhu Huntang's wailing voice came from the other end, as if Lu Chang'an had killed all her skirts and socks. In fact, he had heard Zhu Huntang cry often, he had beaten her many times, and he had heard all kinds of crying methods. It was relatively rare to see Meng Jianglu crying down the Great Wall with such an aura as today. "Did you tell her about the skincare products I bought for Yan Qingcheng this morning?" Lu Chang'an guessed that at that time, he only thought about guarding against Tong 11, the 8th grade mother-in-law in the class, and did not pay much attention to guarding against Bai Hui, who is also a senior 7th grader. Po. N.A. Ah, that, I am. Give Zhu Huntang the phone and I'll talk to her. Lu Chang'an frowned. Normally Zhou Dongdong howls always makes people find it very interesting. Why does Zhu Huntang's howl make people dizzy? What do you want to tell me? Let me tell you, I will never like you again. You go and like Yan Qingcheng. I will never play with you in the future. I want to leave Junxia. No one in Junxia loves me. I want to go back to Taiwan. I originally agreed to take you to the amusement park with your mother. Don't cry now. I'll take you there tomorrow. The crying on the phone gradually disappeared after a few brief sobs. Then I won't cry anymore. After a few seconds, Zhu Huntang sniffed and said, "You keep your word. Well, be good, have a good meal at noon, and remember to come to class in the afternoon," Lu Chang'an warned. Just take me. Yeah, I won't take anyone else with me except you. Then I will still be a little angry when I go to the amusement park tomorrow, unless you and I ride a rocking horse in the amusement park, and you have to sit next to me when playing roller coasters and stuff. Okay, everything is okay. After Lu Chang'an said that, seeing that she had no other requests, he hung up the phone. It was still easy to coax. Lu Chang'an pressed his chest, and when he was with Zhu Huntang, why sometimes his heart seemed to burst, and sometimes he felt a little warm when she was pressing against him. How strange. I'm really immortal. Author, Chu Lian Kui Kan Ru Xiahua. Chapter 1032. Various appearances of Zhu Huntang emerged in Lu Chang'an's mind. She frowned when she was noisy, spoke plausibly when she spoke nonsense, defended loudly with her head on her hips when she made a mistake, howled when she was beaten, and felt confident when her lies were exposed. The most annoying picture was her transformation. The little lamb jumped around and thought it was the cutest in the universe. As for all kinds of suicide attempts, there were too many images, and it would make people physically and mentally uncomfortable if they were gathered together. Lu Chang'an created a new folder in his mind to seal these audio and video memories. Lu Chang'an himself didn't think well about today's matter. The biggest harm of gossip is its spread process, which becomes very strange in word of mouth. If there is no such spread process, gossip is just a simple message delivered. So Lu Chang'an directly involved Bai Hui and delivered the information that he was sending Yan Qingcheng skincare products directly to avoid spreading it through word of mouth through Tong 11 and others and turning it into gossip. Who would have thought that Bai Hui did not become the terminal for receiving information, but instead took Tong 11's place in the process of spreading gossip and began to spread gossip events to Zhu Huntang. I don't know what Bai Hui told Zhu Huntang. Most of them add insult to injury, talking about Lu Chang'an's warm eyes at that time, mentioning Yan Qingcheng's caring tone, and then wondering whether Lu Chang'an might treat Yan Qingcheng as his dear sister because of Professor Lu Jianshi's relationship. Bai Hui said this, Zhu Huntang must have become anxious on the spot, so he burst into tears and rolled around in the back seat of the car regardless of the image of the little fairy. Lu Chang'an really secretly likes Yan Qingcheng and wants to pursue Yan Qingcheng. Zhu Huntang on the contrary, they will not take it seriously, and they may even find it fun and exciting and try to promote the development of the plot. Zhu Huntang is only sensitive to the threats posed by her two identities as the heir of the 9 provinces Fenglai sword sect and the baby who can ride on her father's neck to dominate. As for how many people Lu Chang'an is ambiguously intimate with, she doesn't care at all. I always feel that with her intelligence and Dandan's support, the Bamboo faction is invincible in the battle between the harem factions. It's Bai Hui's fault today. I'll hit her on the head another day, it will give her a slightly punitive pain, but it won't break her skull, as I hope everyone knows. Lu Chang'an came back to his senses, looked at a 3 yellow chicken in the fence with its wings spread slightly, and stared at him. He called Cuckoo twice to show friendship, and then walked up the steps of the restaurant. En Nuan introduced everyone to Lu Chang'an. Wang Wenchen actually didn't need En Nuan's introduction. After Bai Hui helped him recall in the morning, Lu Chang'an regained some impression of Wang Wenchen. The other party was still the one paying for the treat, so Lu Chang'an naturally nodded to show friendship. 3 yellow chicken is raised in the restaurant's courtyard, but the signature dish is spring water boiled bamboo chicken, which is harder to eat. Moreover, the chef can make it delicious as long as he doesn't deliberately tease people, so the smile on Lu Chang'an's face even showed sincerity and kindness. Enthusiasm. Wang Wenchen looked at Lu Chang'an, feeling a little uncomfortable, and he had been paying attention to Lu Chang'an, and felt that Lu Chang'an's expression when he was just teasing the 3 yellow chicken was exactly the same as now. Last year, I met Lu Chang'an at a gathering of low girls. There was some conflict between the two of them, but it was not a big deal. Wang Wenchen only remembered that after the shooting was completed, the 2 photographers returned the photos to the low girls. The contact information of those low girls are Wang Wenchen, and they all posted photos taken at the party in their WeChat moments, mainly photos returned by Lu Chang'an. Basically, only 1 or 2 of the 9 photos posted were of Wang Wenchen. A low girl posted 9 pictures on Weibo, 7 of which were of Wang Wenchen. This made Wang Wenchen feel a little better. He changed his account to a smaller one and pretended to admire the girl's appearance and photography skills. She said that her favorite were the 2 pictures taken by Lu Chang'an, but she arrived late, so Lu Chang'an took 2 pictures for her, and those 2 were her favorites. I heard from Liang Jiao that you often take pictures of En Nuan. I also love photography and have time to communicate more. Wang Wenchen pretended to meet Lu Chang'an for the first time, with a tacit understanding in his eyes. At that time, Lu Chang'an accompanied Bai Hui to Lu's mother's party. Bai Hui took out a photo and said she was Lu Chang'an's girlfriend. Afterwards, everyone gossiped and found out that the photo was of Zhu Huntang, a famous wife in the Lo circle. Bai Hui is a close friend of Zhu Huntang, so naturally no one suspects anything. However, the Lo circle is not an open and popular circle, and such gossip cannot spread to the extent of leaving the circle and causing deep speculation. Now that Lu Chang'an and Wang Wenchen have changed their girlfriends, as a man, who would take the initiative to mention things with his ex-girlfriend? There must be some tacit understanding. Haha, Lu Chang'an laughed heartily. He is a college student with a high emotional intelligence. How could he directly say that you are worthy of communicating with me? His smile was full of encouragement, and he hoped that Wang Wenchen would not be limited to photography subjects, look at a broader world, and know how to photograph women all day long. Wang Wenchen couldn't help but frown. Lu Chang'an had indeed not changed at all, he was still so arrogant. It was just that Lu Chang'an's girlfriend at the time was Zhu Huntang. With Zhu Huntang's influence, no one would dare say anything about him if he was arrogant. But now his girlfriend has become An Nuan. An Nuan is also a famous and popular girl in Hunan University, but when it comes to wealth, which is the most likely to put pressure on ordinary people, it is nothing, right? Hi. I've seen you come to see An Nuan usually, but this is the first time I've said hello formally. Liang Jiao has a cheerful personality and shook hands with Lu Chang'an generously. It's true that the friends of beauties are all beauties. Lu Chang'an complimented An Nuan and Liang Jiao at the same time. He could feel that the relationship between An Nuan and Liang Jiao was indeed okay. She seemed to have given the facial cream that Lu Chang'an gave to An Nuan during military training last year. Let Liang Jiao use it more. Now Liang Jiao's face still has some skin optimization effect brought by those creams. The other people eating together were Bai Wanwan, Gu Meng, and Ding Lin. They were in the same dormitory, but they were Liang Jiao's own roommates, so they didn't invite any of them. There was actually Zhao Xiaotong in Bai Wanwan's dormitory, and Liang Jiao didn't invite her. Although Liang Jiao and Zhao Xiaotong could talk to each other personally, everyone knew that An Nuan and Zhao Xiaotong just nodded and smiled when they met. It would be best for An Nuan and Zhao Xiaotong to only invite one. According to rumors during military training last year, when Zhao Xiaotong met Lu Chang'an, it seemed that he deliberately exposed himself and wanted to seduce Lu Chang'an. At the beginning, everyone was just skeptical about this rumor, but after so long, everyone became more familiar with Zhao Xiaotong, and felt that with Zhao Xiaotong's scheming and temperament, it was really possible to do it. The relationship between girls is always complicated, with undercurrents surging, which may involve many petty grievances and resentments. Who to invite and who not to invite on such occasions is almost the same as the various banquets during the election period in the country. The same, full of announcements and hints of various meanings. Then we are also in the category of beauties. Bai Wanwan and two other people who don't have boyfriends stood together hugging each other for warmth. I told you, Lu Chang'an has very high standards. When he was in high school, he only had eyes for An Nuan. Other girls have nothing to do with beauty in his eyes. Ding Lin and Gu Meng smiled shyly. In fact, they were far inferior to An Nuan and even slightly different from Liang Xiao, but boys like Lu Chang'an were the ones they admired the most. Let's go in. Others see Master Wang holding professional equipment and think we are internet celebrities who shoot some short videos. An Nuan greeted. Under the guidance of the foreman, a group of people came to the reserved private room. There was no menu here. You could only check out by scanning the QR code. To order, you need to go to the dish display area outside the kitchen. In this area, the ingredients required for each dish are concentrated in a bowl or basin, and some are made with real sample dishes for reference. Next to each dish ingredient is a long tube with bamboo skewers inserted into it. The top of the bamboo stick is wrapped with red paper, and the name of the dish is written on the red paper. If the customer wants to eat any dish, he will hold the bamboo stick with the name of the corresponding dish. After selecting all the dishes, he will hold a handful of bamboo sticks. Sign it and give it to the waiter. This ordering method is more common in the South, especially some restaurants that focus on local and specialty restaurants, which prefer to showcase the quality and freshness of the ingredients in the store. The girls went to order food, and there were only 2 males in the box, Lu Chang'an and Wang Wenchen. I heard that bamboo chicken seems to be a protected animal. Isn't it illegal for us to eat here? Wang Wenchen felt that the atmosphere was silent, and it was a bit awkward to sit opposite each other, so he randomly found a topic. Only the wild brown-breasted bamboo chicken and gray-breasted bamboo chicken are protected animals. Hunting and selling them are illegal. If you are really sentenced, it may be more serious than kidnapping a child. Lu Chang'an said with a smile, after all, if you kidnap a child, sometimes the judge will ask you to forgive. This world is really strange, and it often makes Lu Chang'an gain more knowledge. When it comes to bamboo chicken, I think of Zhu Huntang. Wang Wenchen cleverly guided the topic. Isn't it that you, Lu Chang'an, are arrogant because you are Zhu Huntang's boyfriend? Now I have to remind you that your girlfriend is no longer Zhu Huntang. Lu Chang'an frowned slightly. If Wang Wenchen only thinks of Zhu Huntang because of the word bamboo in bamboo chicken, then forget it. If he dares to say that Zhu Huntang is like bamboo chicken, Lu Chang'an will crush him into pieces. Feed the bamboo chickens. For the sake of this meal, when Lu Chang'an rubbed him, he could rub it into fine pieces so that he could better enter the natural circulation system for decomposition. I want to know, what is it like to be in love with such a rich and wealthy lady? Anyway, we have broken up now, can we talk about it? Wang Wenchen smiled slightly. He also talked with his girlfriend Liang Jiao about the famous Hunan University, the rich eldest daughter Zhu Huntang, but after all, the School of Business and Industry and the School of Biology are separated by half a mountain. Liang Jiao didn't understand it too carefully. What she was talking about was the eldest daughter's pomp that girls most envied. At the party last year, Bai Hui took out a photo of Zhu Huntang and said she was my girlfriend. She was actually just teasing you. My girlfriend has been in Nuan since high school and has never been Zhu Huntang. Lu Chang'an did not having fallen in love with a rich and wealthy lady, yet Chanayu had some unpleasant experiences and nothing to talk about. So that's it, Wang Wenchen sneered, a little annoyed that Bai Hui had teased him for so long, but the good news was that Lu Chang'an in front of him had nothing to fear. There is no need to give Lu Chang'an any face later. Just mentioning that Lu Chang'an attended a party with Bai Hui last year and hinting that the relationship between the two is ambiguous is enough to embarrass Lu Chang'an and An Nuan. If Lu Chang'an and An Nuan break up because of this, he will not. There is no chance to get close to An Nuan. Beautiful girls always do not reject having tools like photographers. As long as the tools are used properly, they have far more opportunities than ordinary dog lickers, spare tires, and male best friends. Zhu Huntang and I are family friends. She is like a family member to me. How can we fall in love? I see your eyes twinkling with a hint of calculation. I advise you not to target Zhu Huntang, you will die. Lu Chang'an didn't know how to read minds, but he could tell at a glance whether others had malicious intentions, so he reminded them gently with a smile. After all, he is not the kind of devil who wants to kill someone just because he has some evil thoughts in his heart. Wang Wenchen only felt that Lu Chang'an's eyes were like knives, and the sharpness seemed to be piercing into his eyes, so Wang Wenchen had to avoid looking at him. What really made Wang Wenchen frightened was that Lu Chang'an and Zhu Huntang were family friends. This means that Lu Chang'an does not need to rely on the relationship with Zhu Huntang to be a boyfriend and girlfriend. The Zhu family is a resource that can provide assistance to Lu Chang'an. This is the true meaning of family friendship. Aren't the two most important and close interpersonal resources that the powerful rely on most, namely in-laws and family friends? It turns out that Lu Chang'an did not rely on the power of powerful people, he was a powerful person himself. No wonder the president of Hunan University, who I met through providing resources in the Ka circle, said that today's Hunan University is crouching tiger, hidden dragon, and has heavyweight and powerful disciples. I don't know if the crouching tiger, hidden dragon that person mentioned includes Lu Chang'an in front of me. It's a pity that something happened to the principal, and it's not convenient to contact him anymore. This has also damaged Wang Wenchun's resources a lot. Wang Wenchun spent a lot of money to send so many beautiful girls. What he just said could only be considered as a not very friendly tone, but he was not ready to be truly sarcastic. Lu Chang'an shouldn't hold a grudge, right? Lu Chang'an softly uttered the two words "will die," which still made Wang Wenchun feel uneasy. In today's legal society, public opinion is raging, with all kinds of thoughts in his mind. When Wang Wenchun raised his head again, his hair was neatly parted to reveal his forehead, and he held up his black tortoise-shell color. He wears glasses, and his generous and round face is filled with a simple and honest smile. Why would I target Zhu Huntang? She is almost the kind of perfect girl. I just want to get closer and see if there is a chance to take some photos of her. However, I also know that she does not lack photographers at all. This kind of wealthy daughter has a lot of money. You should have your own royal photographer. I don't have that ability yet. Brother Lu, you should have taken photos of Miss Zuda. There are three elements of portraits: beautiful girl, beautiful girl, beautiful girl, live together. Zhu Huntang actually doesn't have a royal photographer. If I had to say it, does Zhongqing count? Lu Chang'an still remembers that one time when he and Zhu Huntang were chatting, she suddenly picked up a book. Zhongqing understood instantly and quickly caught Zhu Huntang's expression and took a photo. Zhongqing is also a human spirit. Ah, if you can get the attention of the sheep mother, you must be good at it. I have taken photos of her, and she has always had a cute everyday style, pure and beautiful. Lu Chang'an simply explained the shooting style. After all, in the eyes of photographers like Wang Wenchun, the ultimate purpose of photography is to persuade beautiful girls to take off their beautiful clothes. The naked body was photographed in a private room on the hotel bed. En Nuan is also a very good photographic subject. My girlfriend showed me En Nuan's space. You took many of the photos, right? Wang Wenchun continued to flatter her implicitly. Yes, actually what I like most is deep sea and deep space photography, photographing beautiful girls. Lu Chang'an naturally changed his meaning. Photography of beautiful girls is mainly a professional service for my girlfriend. It has nothing to do with likes or dislikes, is a sacred duty and responsibility. En Nuan smiled slightly and leaned her head against her boyfriend after sitting down. Lu Chang'an was really good at talking. The other girls also came back after ordering, chirping like a group of happy birds flying in. Liang Jiao ordered the signature spring water bamboo chicken, while the other girls only ordered cheaper dishes such as vegetable snacks. Liang Jiao ordered the main dishes herself. When eating, everyone used public chopsticks to pick up food and paid attention to hygiene. Lu Chang'an's nutrients were not spread around. The large portion of bamboo chicken that costs 800 yuan is a farmed bamboo chicken that restores the wild environment as much as possible, but it is indeed worth the money. It is chopped into pieces and boiled with clear spring water. It is very delicious with the simplest cooking method, without any seasoning. To enhance the flavor, I just added some Zangshu Hong Kong chili pepper and whole one-head garlic according to the taste of southern Hunan. After eating, Wang Wenchun went to check out. When he arrived at the front desk, he found out that the boss had waived the bill. This made Wang Wenchun feel a little surprised. Who would give him face like this? Looking around, I felt like the other girls looked at him differently. Who is your boss? Wang Wenchun was secretly happy, but his expression was dull, as if this was a normal thing. This kind of scene where social people show off their network resources is indeed quite enviable by the student party. Liang Jiao is especially happy. In fact, she also knows that with her body and appearance, finding a boyfriend like Wang Wenchun will inevitably cause some discussion behind her back. Now her boyfriend being able to show a rare trait among male college students such as ability and connections made her feel proud. It's outside the door, the cashier pointed. The group of people walked out and saw an Audi A7 and a red Ferrari parked outside the restaurant. In the middle of the two cars stood two men in their 20s chatting. At first glance, they looked like the kind of people who have entered society and have a certain level of confidence. The type with a solid career foundation and a very mature temperament in dress and appearance, not like the rich second generation who are still purely enjoying life. It is Gao Qunyi and Gao Yaneng among the three brothers of the Gao family. Who is the returning boss? Wang Wenchen checked it out, but he really didn't recognize him. He asked with a smile, "Why did you give me a free order?" "Haha, make a friend and come here often." It turned out that this was the one who paid the bill. Gao Qunyi smiled calmly. Gao Yaneng did not speak, but nodded towards Lu Chang'an who was walking at the end. Wang Wenchen realized that the other party's exemption did not seem to be directed at him, and he was inevitably a little embarrassed. Taking advantage of the fact that others could not see that the exemption was not for his sake, he pulled Liang Jiao and left first. Lu Chang'an and An Nuan drove by themselves. They didn't go all the way, so they pulled at the end. "My girlfriend An Nuan," Lu Chang'an introduced Gao Qunyi. Gao Yaneng did not need to introduce him. He was blocked by An Nuan and Professor Lu. A talented man and a beautiful woman, Gao Qunyi praised her sincerely. "He is also Gao Dui's brother, Mr. Gao Qunyi." Lu Chang'an introduced Gao Qunyi to An Nuan. "So you are Gao Dui's brother?" "When we were in the first year of high school, Gao Dui bragged to me that he knew martial arts and that his brother was a martial arts master." And Nuan held Lu Chang'an's arm and smiled. "I dare not take it seriously." In front of Lu Chang'an, who dares to say that he is a martial arts master, Gao Qunyi is not being modest. That is indeed the case. "And Nuan looks more and more like Professor Lu," Gao Yaneng said with some emotion. "The daughter of the woman he once liked is now so old and looks more and more like her. At this time, he should sing a song, or listen to Li Zongshen's songs. In fact, Takano Ning is less than 30, but who makes the woman she likes older? It feels like the vicissitudes of life and the experiences of the mortal world." And Nuan understood what Gao Yaneng meant, how to say it. She feels a little sympathy for Gao Yaneng, but she won't draw any red lines between her mother and Gao Yaneng. Who can accept a stepfather who is just less than 10 years older than herself? Of course, a stepfather who was about the same age as herself was even more unacceptable. And Nuan smiled brightly and did not deliberately turn her head to glance at her boyfriend, who was about the same age as herself. "Brother, do you know An Nuan?" Gao Qunyi asked. "The flower tea I gave you before, the stunning beauty on the package, is An Nuan's mother." Gao Yaneng spoke slowly, with the feeling of sighing deeply. Lu Chang'an felt that he could even act in Love in the Rain. "I remember that when President Gao met Li Hongfang a while ago, he seemed to be showing signs of falling in love with her. It seemed that it would take some time for a man to truly come out. I'm not impressed. Your tea doesn't taste good either." "I drank it after I tasted it." Gao Qunyi shook his head. "Chuff. Aren't you opening a martial arts gym? Are you developing a new business? This restaurant tastes really good. I will come again in the future, but don't give me a free meal." Lu Chang'an asked Gao Qunyi, pointing to the restaurant in the back. Lu Chang'an is also the consultant of the martial arts gym. Even though he has done nothing, the martial arts gym still pays consulting fees every month. This is also normal. The status of martial arts consultant is just like the former guest ministers and guest elders of Zhuzhu Fenglai Jianmen. They usually spend money to support them, and they can raise soldiers for 1,000 days and use them for a while. It's just that the guest elders and guest elders of the Zhuzhu Fenglai sword sect are not there to fight, but the sisters in the section sometimes they really can't stand it, and they can't help but shake people off. My family has always had a restaurant, and the martial arts school is really a side business. In my restaurant, among other things, you can rest assured that the ingredients are all produced in the fields and waters of Gao Dui's family." Gao Qunyi photographed. He patted his chest to assure himself. Lu Chang'an nodded, feeling that Gao Dui's martial arts gym was not profitable at all. He also drove a luxury car, so he couldn't survive without a truly profitable business. Someone recently asked us to fight in our martial arts school. It seems to be quite serious. I might ask you to take action when the time comes. After the pleasantries, Gao Qunyi got down to business. Yes, Lu Chang'an agreed, not because he was short-handed, but because he beat Gao Qunyi to the hospital out of extenuating circumstances, and since he was Gao Dui's brother, he could help if he could with a little effort. If Gao Qunyi invited him to fight against Xiao Yan, Han Li, the ruthless emperor, etc., Lu Chang'an would definitely not take the risk. "Ah, let's go fight with my boyfriend," En Nuan objected with a squeak. Lu Chang'an knew that she was just making a sound to show her presence, so he pulled her away. Gao Yenang looked at En Nuan's back that looked more and more like Professor Lu, sighed softly, and said to Gao Qunyi, "I have heard from Professor Lu before that Lu Chang'an knows martial arts, but the one who wants to choose our martial arts school seems to be the one from Brazil. Is there any danger to the ruthless people around me? If Lu Chang'an has a problem, Professor Lu will probably block me. Well, she has already blocked me." "No problem, Lu Chang'an is basically the best in the world," Gao Qunyi said confidently. Big Zhangja PLGMMP. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I'm really immortal. Author, Chulian Kui Kan Ru Xiahua. Chapter 1033. There is no need to wait for the shuttle bus, which is much more convenient for couples living in two places. Having a car can really improve the quality of life of college couples. Hotels near university towns are basically full on weekends and certain holidays. If you have a car, you can easily go to a hotel farther away, and it can even be used directly as a prop and venue for outdoor military operations. En Nuan sent Lu Chang'an back to the biology college first, and then went to attend the afternoon training camp without delay. When the car passed by the red building, the road became narrow due to greening construction and there were no standardized lanes. There was a confrontation between vehicles traveling in the opposite direction in front of the car and the road was blocked. "Look ahead," En Nuan reminded Lu Chang'an to watch the excitement. In the past, he only took cars and rarely paid attention to road traffic conditions. Now, of course, when driving by himself, he must concentrate, look in all directions, and be careful and safe. Especially the two sides in the confrontation, one of which is a familiar Bentley sports car. In front is the early building complex of Xiongnan University. The construction period ranged from the Republic of China to after liberation, and also shows the development and evolution of modern architectural styles. There are 9 buildings in these buildings, which are among the 7th batch of National Key Cultural Relics Protection Units announced by the State Council. 2nd century architectural heritage. The Red Mansion Science Museum we see now was used as a school office building. The style of these buildings reflects the design thinking at that time and the exploration to solve the contradiction between the new needs of social development and rigidity in the inherent French style. Listening to her boyfriend rambling and chatting, En Nuan let go of the steering wheel, gently pinched his earlobe with one hand, and pointed to the vehicles confronting each other in front of her. "I grew up here, and I used you as my boss." Tour guide. "Your cousin is having sex with someone else, why don't you help her out?" Lu Chang'an sighed, "What's so interesting about the scene of driving a gambling car? Let's talk about historical documents. Isn't the architectural landscape good? The main car of that team is also a hunky L5, and Zhu Huntang also has one, but the license plate seems to be different. Although your cousin has a background, the opponent also has a large number of people. Even if he regains the place in the future, he will easily suffer the loss now." En Nuan looked worried for Qinyanan and tried to instigate Lu Chang'an to help. Lu Chang'an felt that her intentions were unclear, and he couldn't figure out how true or false they were, let alone interfere with her. Wouldn't it be nice to touch and pinch the beautiful girl while sitting in the car? "Let's go, class is about to start, don't delay my study." On the other side of the motorcade is the third wife, Zhu Huntang's mother. The Zhu family is powerful, but southern Hunan is completely the home of the Qin family. Both sides know the basics and put forward their own plans. Then there is no way to fight. Haven't you seen that in novels? Conflicts arise when people pretend to be pigs and eat tigers. Both parties know that the other is a tiger, so who is pretending to be a pig? Lu Chang'an grabbed her hands and put them on the steering wheel. Master, drive quickly, I'm in a hurry, thank you. Well, since you call me master, I will accept you as my apprentice. But apprentice, you must respect your master. You must never climb on master's window or bed in the future, and Nuan he chuckled, turned the car around and walked away. You don't know this, right? Female masters are usually used to push them down. If it is the kind of master who is described as beautiful, charming, and has an extremely beautiful appearance that overwhelms other female characters, but it is not used to push him down, then it is simply the sky will be angry and people will complain. Lu Chang'an also smiled, pinched her soft ears and said. And Nuan tilted her head slightly, rubbed the back of his hand with her cheek, her eyes rolled, and the corners of her mouth curled up slightly. So that's it, but there are some people who are equally beautiful, charming, and beautiful, and at the same time have the same figure. Those who have a slight advantage over master, are some, netizens or something like that. Do we have to push them down, otherwise it will also lead to anger and resentment. Lu Chang'an couldn't help but frown, immediately shook his head, and said solemnly, this is not possible. There is a magic weapon in the master's hand called the vinegar altar. It is comparable to the jade purification bottle of Guanyin. It has amazing magical powers. Once it is knocked over, it can contain an amount of treasure. A sea of vinegar pouring out like the Pacific Ocean, even I can't resist. Sages talk about their deeds regardless of their heart, and master will not investigate whether you dare not rather than don't want to. And Nuan raised her head proudly. No wonder many boys like to call themselves father, and it feels good to call themselves master. It would be nice if he could just shout master, spare my life next time, he. Let me ask you, what's the right way to use master spare my life as the first couplet, and the second couplet must have the word dad? And Nuan asked Lu Chang'an with pink cheeks. He must know, after all, she gave him the answer. You are already driving, don't drive randomly. Lu Chang'an refused to be tested. And Nuan dropped Lu Chang'an off in front of the teaching building. Because he wanted to familiarize himself with the road conditions and vehicle performance, he had to walk around a few times. In the end, he didn't see his favorite Maserati Quattroporte, so he had to leave with regret. When Lu Chang'an walked into the classroom, Zhu Huntang was already sitting in the corner of the back row, writing and drawing seriously with his head down. There were no game consoles, snacks, comic books or the like placed in front of her anymore, but a plastic soft leather pencil case that looked like she bought it at a canteen next to an elementary school. Could it be that he felt that his position was threatened by Yan Qingcheng and started to study hard? So Lu Chang'an walked to Zhu Huntang casually. Feeling the strong wind hitting his face, Zhu Huntang raised his head and glanced at Lu Chang'an, tilted his head and chuckled twice, then continued to do his own thing with his head lowered. Since he had promised to take him to the amusement park tomorrow, he was acting like a good boy today. Will not roll on the ground for the time being to vent the hurt caused by his father's cheating on Maya. What are you doing? Lu Chang'an tapped the table with his finger, stretched his neck and squinted, asking angrily. Zhu Huntang painted many dark spherical patterns on a piece of paper, which looked like chocolate beans. He was not studying at all. This is Bla's sheep dung ball because he had the experience of pulling sheep dung balls and being buried by sheep dung balls. Zhu Huntang was deeply impressed by the sheep dung balls, and the painting looked very similar, basically a first-class painting. Level. Lu Chang'an couldn't help but remember that he went to Zhu Huntang's studio a while ago to find her. At that time, he was still expecting her painting skills, but she ended up drawing a ham sausage with 2 chicken wings on it, saying that she was designing an airplane. Sure enough, every time he expected something from her, he seemed very stupid. Stop asking her why she drew sheep poop balls. Lu Chang'an raised his hand and pressed his lips and sat down. I want to write a book. Zhu Huntang took the initiative to report the plan to Lu Chang'an. Lu Chang'an didn't ask her what book she wanted to write. Zhu Huntang wanted to do so many things that she could even come up with an idea in 3 minutes, just like children like Zhou Dongdong and Shang Guandandan. The arrogant and cold father Long. Zhu Huntang wrote this line. Lu Chang'an just looked at her sideways. Every day I want the baby fairy sheep to poop on his head. After Zhu Huntang wrote this, he did not write about what to poop on, but circled the sheep dung balls. That's the title of the book, haha, Zhu Huntang laughed. When I finish writing it, this year's Baobier Literature Award will belong to me. I told you, that's the Nobel Prize for Literature, Lu Chang'an said angrily. It doesn't matter. I don't know Nobel, so I don't have to give him face. If I correct it if I remember it wrong, doesn't it mean that he is very important and I have to give him face? Zhu Huntang disagreed. Lu Chang'an no longer wanted to go to the amusement park with her tomorrow. It turned out that when he was on the phone with her, he thought that she would be pathetic and cute just by going to the amusement park with her. It turned out to be a serious illusion. After Zhu Huntang finished speaking, he snapped his fingers, and a bread man pretending to be an ordinary student and sitting on the side came over. Go look at various online novel rankings and find someone to write a novel based on my title. Zhu Huntang handed over her book title that combined theme, outline, characters and plot. Bread man. The bread man took the order and left. Don't you want to write it yourself? Lu Chang'an couldn't help but ask. I have already put forward my ideas. If someone else just turns my ideas into written content, can it be counted as his writing? Even in the novel world that I know, this is unethical and is an act of plagiarism. Zhu Huntang said matter-of-factly, so I put forward the idea, found someone to write it, and after paying the fee, of course the book is considered to be written by me. This is usually what a senior author like me does. There are many internet writers in shonen and even junsha. They often go to Wei Avenue to race cars and provoke the traffic police, and then go surfing on Orange Island and put their laptops in the water to improve their writing skills. They are easy to find. Why are you looking for an author on the online novel ranking list? Lu Chang'an has no objection to her calling herself a senior leading author. Who can sway her with her doubts? Because these authors are good at making jokes, combining them with current events, and adjusting the 3 views expressed in their articles to please people based on readers' reactions. Zhu Huntang is also good at listening to books. She even knows jokes like Unknown Old Age. The arrogant and aloof dragon dad wants the fairy sheep baby to poop balls of sheep dung on his head every day. Recalling the very shameful title of the book just now, Lu Chang'an decided that if it was convenient, he would threaten the writer Zhu Huntang was looking for. He was also made to lick the cat's butt so stinky that he fainted, and had to give up the writing task assigned by Zhu Huntang. Let's wear parent-child clothes tomorrow. Zhu Huntang put his palms into Lu Chang'an's pockets, then clenched his fists and beat his thighs. What kind of style? Lu Chang'an didn't have any objections. This was also an unprecedented experience. Zhu Huntang opened her soft plastic cartoon pencil case, took out the mobile phone inside and gave Lu Chang'an the parent-child outfit she selected. It is indeed a sheep doll costume. Not wearing it, this was even more outrageous than the black and white horizontal striped prisoner's parent-child outfit that An Nuan bought. Mom has already agreed. Zhu Huntang stared, his butt slipped, and he fell down and collapsed on the chair, kicking the legs of the chair in front of him with his feet. Your mother is willing to wear this? Lu Chang'an was a little surprised. Su Mei was indeed stern and fierce on the surface, but in fact she was too doting on Zhu Huntang. Yeah, Zhu Huntang nodded aggrievedly, it's my first time to go to an amusement park with you. Why don't you agree to such a small request? Sure enough, you are willing to buy cosmetics for Yan Qingcheng and want her to. I asked you whether your eyebrows are dark or dark, but you refuse to accompany me to the amusement park. Why is it that I don't want to accompany you to the amusement park? If you don't wear parent-child clothes to the amusement park, it means you didn't go. No one else knows you are my daddy. Zhu Huntang slid down a little more, threatening him with her eyes. If she didn't agree, she might fall to the ground. I'll roll a few times. When your own children roll on the floor, it is usually the adults who are embarrassed. Lu Chang'an grabbed her by the back of the neck and lifted her up, and said angrily, "Then before class starts, I will explain to you the poem Thrush Eyes Deep and Deep. If you can memorize it before class, I will agree to it." You. Okay. Zhu Huntang quickly sat up straight and prepared to listen carefully. Anyway, it was more comfortable to listen to the bad old man's lecture than to listen to Yan Qingcheng's chanting. Lu Chang'an began to explain that Su Mei agreed to wear it anyway, and he was not too reserved to play with the child. I'm really immortal. Author, Chu Lian Kui Kan Ru Xiahua. Chapter 1034. There were red candles in the bridal chamber last night. Wait to pay homage to my uncle in front of Xiao Tang. After putting on makeup, I asked my husband in a low voice. The eyebrows are light and dark. Zhu Qingyu of the Tang dynasty, recent examination of Zhang Shuobu. The ancient literati often liked to express themselves in the manner of comparing themselves to women, and there was a hidden meaning of women's clothing. It happened that the Zhang Shuobu who Zhu Qingyu wrote the poem and submitted it to was Zhang Ji. When Lu Chang'an said this, he glanced at Zhu Huntang. When giving lectures, students should respond appropriately. Her staring eyes and confused expression always make the teacher feel that he can't continue the lecture, and he suspects that what he is talking about may be some kind of holy book, which makes people at a loss. Well, my fault, I can't expect you to hear the name Zhang Ji express anything. Zhang Ji also wrote a very famous yan of a chaste woman in the posture of a woman. There is also a very wonderful line in it, "Return the king's pearl with tears." Chui, I wish we could meet each other before we were married, Lu Chang'an continued. As long as you admit your mistake, I forgive you, Zhu Huntang said generously, raising his hand and touching Lu Chang'an's head, so that he didn't have to worry about it. Lu Chang'an clenched his fist. This sheep had basically no talent in any other field, but he was extremely talented in teasing Lu Chang'an and was unparalleled in the world. Zhu Qingyu's poem borrowed from a story in the Tang dynasty. The famous actress Sun Sun and the romantic scholar Qinan met in the early days. Later, Qinan himself fell into many romantic debts. When he met Sun Sun again, although both parties liked each other, he couldn't express his feelings with his mouth. Once, Sun Sun did not take off his makeup after a performance and had dinner with Qinan. Qinan's father suddenly arrived. Sun Sun only felt that the makeup of his actor's performance might displease Qinan's father, and he was anxious. My mood is, after putting on makeup, I asked my husband in a low voice, and my eyebrows were as dark as before. Lu Chang'an finished telling the story. Understand its meaning and recite its text, and you will get twice the result with half the effort. Hurry up and memorize it. My great-grandmother's name is Su Mei. Did you ever tell her the story about the thrush's dark eyebrows and their disappearance? Zhu Huntang said after thinking deeply. Do you think she is illiterate like you? Do you still need me to talk about such poems and articles that have been passed down through the ages? Lu Chang'an said angrily. He felt that Su Mei's biggest failure in educating Zhu Huntang was that Zhu Huntang didn't have to memorize 300 Tang poems when he was a child. Not to mention the slightly longer ones like the Song of the Chaste Woman, she has never even memorized Goose Goose. Cultural education should start with the recitation of poems. Although many children find it painful to be forced to recite poems and perform recited poems when they were young, this is indeed a very beneficial experience for children. A childhood without memorizing poems is soulless. Think about it, You had a romantic debt with my great-grandmother hundreds of years ago, and you had her granddaughter-in-law hundreds of years later. Now you still beat her great-granddaughter every day. Isn't it a bit too much for you? Zhu Huntang took his hand out of his pocket and put his hands on his hips angrily. Is the Chinan you just talked about who has many romantic debts as excessive as you? You were just whipped by your mother this morning, and I still have the video here. Your skin is itchy, and you won't feel comfortable without being beaten by mixed doubles, right? Lu Chang'an looked at the increasing number of classmates in the classroom, and suppressed his desire to put her in class. The urge to chop and slash across the table. Just wait and watch the cute pet videos to calm down. I thought about it carefully. The story you just told is actually the same as your current situation. When the dragon spirits and pot flies surrounding you were playing with you, they met Dan Dan holding the seal of the harem master. I guess it's also the mood of having eyebrows that are light and dark at times. After Zhu Huntang finished speaking, he nodded with satisfaction. I combined it with reality, drew inferences from one instance, and gained a deeper understanding of the meaning of the poem, so I'd like to ask you if you accept it. Lu Chang'an took a deep breath and kneaded Zhu Huntang's plastic softcover cartoon pencil case into PVC particles and clay. Seeing him place the unrecognizable remains of the pencil box in front of her, Zhu Huntang imagined herself being so rubbed, and quickly recited the poem. Last night in the bridal chamber, there were red candles, and I waited in front of the hall to pay homage to my uncle. After putting on makeup, I asked my husband in a low voice, the eyebrows are light and dark. Lu Chang'an then balled up the pile of scraps and threw it into the trash can at the back of the classroom. He remembered that time when he made her into a kite and shot it into the sky. She could recite a poem instantly. This is actually not difficult. The key is whether she can transform instant memory into long-term memory and become her own knowledge reserve. However, it can also be proved that she does have brains, but she never has to be in a serious place. As long as she does not resist learning like a dying struggle, her efficiency can be greatly improved. This matter can be discussed with Yan Qingcheng. At this time, Yan Qingcheng and other girls walked in together. When he turned his head, his eyes naturally fell on the corner of the back row. He smiled and nodded to Lu Chang'an and Zhu Huntang. As for Zhu Huntang, seeing her looking over, he hugged Lu Chang'an's head and tried to push Lu Chang'an under the table to hide him. Yan Qingcheng only thought it was cute and didn't mind. Who would care about a little girl who just wants to monopolize her father's love? What's more, Zhu Huntang is not bad in nature. He is a bit willful and arrogant, but it is also due to his environment and background. If there is a chance, who wants to be mature and tempered by life, instead of a childish person like Zhu Huntang who is ignorant of the world? Of course, Yan Qingcheng also knows very well that Zhu Huntang's naivete is only a manifestation of specific aspects. If one day Yan Qingcheng really tries his best to snatch Zhu Huntang's father's love, Zhu Huntang may not be Yan Qing Orange can handle it. Based on this understanding, Yan Qingcheng does not intend to use various means to try to get higher like those cha-cha. People value self-knowledge and self-sufficiency. Today, she has received the care that Professor Lu conveyed through Lu Chang'an through Bai Hui, and she is satisfied. When class was over at noon, Bai Hui hurriedly came to Zhu Huntang, probably to persuade Zhu Huntang to be careful with Yan Qingcheng. Yan Qingcheng was a little confused. When she met Bai Hui in the morning, didn't she express her intention clearly? Or does Bai Hui understand that Yan Qingcheng cares about Professor Lu, but still regards Yan Qingcheng as a member of the tea circle? Unable to understand, Yan Qingcheng shook her head and stopped worrying about the matter. She spent her time and energy on Lu Chang'an and Zhu Huntang. That was to maintain important interpersonal relationships. Could it be that spending time on Bai Huan was to refine her tea art? It would be a good thing to have a job like tea master when choosing a career in the future. In front of the school office building, the confrontation continued, and students who had no classes in the afternoon watched and ate melon. Hunky L5, it is said that you need a political review before you can buy it, and it will not be sold to ordinary people at all. Nonsense, Fa is like that. It sells every car it can. But this is a fleet, and it seems that it is really not an ordinary person. There are also differences between L5 and L5. Some are priced at 5,6,7,000,000, while some are said to have no upper limit on the price of customized versions. The one on the opposite side is relatively low-key, but when you see the team with flags on the opposite side, they still refuse to move half a car back. It's probably a hard fight. Why doesn't anyone get out of the car? They must be unwilling to give in, and they don't want us to take pictures of their faces and post them online. In fact, this is the reason. It's not that Chinyanan is afraid of being posted online, it's just that she works here and doesn't want to attract discussion and attention from teachers and students in the school. When I met Sumei's motorcade at the beginning, I didn't think so much. Who knew that in such a short period of time, there would be so many onlookers from students who had nothing to do but go to the library to study? Sister, what's going on between you and the third wife? Chinzasi was also a little surprised to meet the third wife of the Zhu family on the campus of Hunan University. Being in the special department, Chinzasi has a deeper understanding of the third wife, and is particularly concerned about some of the third wife's movements at Hunan University. As one of the two universities in southern Hunan that has been sanctioned by the US, Shonan University has its own strength. It is precisely because of the sanctions that more people in the country have learned that its reputation is far inferior to that of some preparatory schools and colonial schools in the United States. The colleges and universities in the National People's Congress camp are quietly doing something, taking on something, and contributing something. The third wife had a special status. She began to pay attention to Hunan University in the last century, and increased her cooperation with Hunan University year by year. For what purpose, Chinzasi did not know. In short, judging from the current situation, the third wife is someone who can cooperate and strive for, and maintains a friendly exchange situation with the mainland. In particular, she has mastered the human body biomodification technology and is conducting in-depth cooperation with Chinzasi's department. Chinzasi Kame Shonan also has a task to contact the third wife. The first informal meeting with the third wife in Juncha was in this situation. Chinzasi had not expected it. A holiday? It was such a big festival. If it hadn't been for some mistake, Chinyanan's face showed a faint blush. If it hadn't been for some mistake, no one knew where the fate of Yesijan, Qin Peng and others would have gone, as for future generations. It is even more unknown whether there are Chinzasi and other descendants of the Qin family. Of course, this cannot be said. Chinyanan just stared at the hunky L5 in front of her. It's nothing special. This is not the Shilin official residence of her Zhu family. The campus of Xiang University is not a place for her to show off. She drives a hunky L5 with two small national flags on it, and then the whole thing convoy. Where is this pretending leader? That's the truth, but your best friend Zhu Huntang goes to school here and puts on this show every day, and you haven't seen him resent it at all, right? Chinzasi looked at Chinyanan suspiciously. She remembered that because of Zhu Huntang, Chinyanan and the third wife of the Zhu family had a good relationship. Did something happen after Chinyanan came to Juncha? With the reputation and status of the Qin family and the Zhu family in their respective territories, it is very important to handle the relationship between the two parties well. The current tone of the two families is to use the only remaining old head of the family as the link to rebuild the relationship. The younger generation will socialize more and provide support for each other's reasonable demands in influential fields in various places. The Zhu family has gained various conveniences in the process of investment and development in Juncha. Chinzasi's department competed and cooperated with the third wife to research human body biomodification technology, which is the result of mutual support. Under such a situation, how could the cousin, who had always been sensible and generous, express his hostility towards the third wife so directly, or to use a more subtle word, dissatisfaction. In a big family within the system, it is a very serious act of rebellion to go against the mainstream voice of the family. If the elders who have the right to speak and political resources think that you are not mature enough and irresponsible, you may even lose support and find yourself in trouble in your career. Stagnation. That is, Chinyan dares, Chinzasi knows very well that the old man loves this cousin who looks almost exactly like his great-grandmother, and making some mistakes will not affect anything. There are many reasons for the change in the relationship between two people. It is impossible to draw conclusions by casual analysis, but it is worth paying attention to. Chinzasi didn't want her cousin to influence her future cooperation with the third wife in an unexplained way. It involved national security and interests, and personal grudges were irrelevant. It was impossible for Chinzasi to follow Chinyan's position and carry out the next work with emotions. What you are saying is, but we also know the temper of the third wife and she likes to show off. But considering the situation of the Zhu family, it is necessary for her, a third-generation granddaughter-in-law, to maintain a superior attitude if she wants to control the Zhu family. After all, she is elders, why don't we take a step back first, Chinzasi warned softly. There are only two people in the county who are my elders. Chinyan has no intention of retreating first. In a battle of wills, whoever retreats first will lose. Today she retreated first. Next time there is a fight, such as ranking, bed position, etc., she will be the first to lose. The other party will definitely be arrogant and arrogant. What's more, if you have the right idea, the more you think about it, the more angry you will be. If you take a step back, the more you think about it, the more you will lose. Chinzasi sighed. The two elders of Chinian and Juncha are of course her parents. This is implying that Juncha is her home court. Doesn't the third wife have the right to ask her to give in? Chinyan took out his mobile phone, filmed the confrontation, and then sent it to Lu Chang'an. Why send it to Lu Chang'an? Chinzasi was a little confused. Did he want Lu Chang'an to help suppress the battle? Let him know that this third wife is arrogant and bullies others when she comes back to Juncha. Let him feel sorry for me. Chinyan looked at the phone, pressed her chest, and couldn't help blurting out. Many question marks appeared on Chinzasi's head and heart. What kind of operation is this? What's the point? Will letting our cousin feel sorry for you solve the problem? Chinzasi couldn't help but think of the scene he often saw in TV dramas. After the wife and the concubine had a fight, the charming concubine hummed and threw herself into the master's arms. Master, she bullied me, and I will die. The key is, sister, where have you been bullied? The car suddenly moved and slowly backed away. Chinzasi and Chinyan came to their senses and saw a huge black SUV pressing against the two confronting cars, as if intending to squeeze through the middle. Where did this madman come from? Sumei's hunky L5 was motionless and firmly gripping the ground. Chinyan's Bentley, which had not undergone any kind of bulletproof and explosion-proof modifications and was just an ordinary sports car, was suddenly tilted by the beast-like black SUV. Chinyan realized that she had no intention of confronting such a lunatic and quickly reversed the car. It would not be too late to cause trouble for the SUV afterwards. As Chinyan retreated, the SUV rushed past the two cars and drove away. The driver even stuck his head out of the window and gave the two cars a middle finger. Li Hongfang, Chinyan was so angry that she was strangled by the safety belt and turned into an avalanche. One time, Li Hongfang gave Shang Guandandan a car of champagne. At that time, Chinyan felt that she should pay for it and not let outsiders spend the money. As a result, Li Hongfang actually asked Chinyan if she was Shang Guandandan's mother. At that time, Chinyan suspected that Li Hongfang was one of Sumei's people. Now it seems that they are indeed a group. With Sumei's return, their gang naturally became more arrogant. Qin Ziyi was also angered by this arrogant and irritable female driver. The Qin family didn't like to cause trouble but were never afraid of it, not to mention that this was still a county. Qin Ziyi saw his cousin take out his mobile phone and was going to see how he would deal with it first. He had to check the license plate first before looking for someone. This was already a traffic accident level, not to mention Qin Ziyi's special status and previous charges related to national security cases. Damn, didn't you scare her to death? Thinking like this, Qin Ziyi stared at Qin Yanan sending a message with sharp eyes, only to see Qin Yanan send another message to Lu Chang'an, she and Li Hongfang bullied me together. Feeling Qin Ziyi's gaze, Qin Yanan came back to his senses and put away his phone with some embarrassment. Looking at the opponent's hunky L5, it seemed that his attention was diverted and was moving the entire convoy. Qin Yanan no longer insisted and veered off the road. Drive out. Qin Ziyi shook his head and confirmed that he had read it correctly. He stared blankly at the familiar yet unfamiliar cousin next to him. When he was a child, the cousin who saw his brothers and sisters being bullied and rushed forward immediately, how did he change? Have you become the kind of little girl who only twists her body and squeezes into the master's arms while moaning? What Qin Ziyi can't understand even more is that even if you become a little girl who only knows how to act coquettishly and complain, how did you find the master to be your cousin? Is it really useful to complain to Lu Chang'an like a baby? Can he help you vent your anger? Or do you simply want to act coquettishly and satisfy his need to love you? With his head full of questions, Qin Ziyi only understood one thing: next time he investigates a case, it is better not to take his cousin with him. All kinds of requests. I'm really immortal. Author, Chu Lian Kui Kan Ru Xiahua. Chapter 1035. During class, Lu Chang'an received a message from Qin Yanan. After thinking about it for a moment, he realized that Su Mei and Qin Yanan were fighting over each other and he wouldn't get involved, but he could still take care of Li Hongfang. She was everywhere. Qin Yanan sent another voice message. Lu Chang'an converted it into text. People who don't even answer the phone often don't like to listen to voice messages. Text can convey content more accurately and quickly, which is an advantage that voice cannot match. People who are busy at work or pressed for time often feel very irritated and want to curse when they see paragraphs of voice messages. In many cases, people who are more verbose and lack the ability to refine language and summarize content prefer speaking. Qin Yanan's voice is not objectionable, because it is not a work relationship, but a chat between relatives and friends. Even if you listen to it again when you have time, it will not delay anything and will not make people bored or irritable. After understanding what was going on, Lu Chang'an sent a message to Li Hongfang, "What are you doing at Hunan University?" Li Hongfang, "Brother Lu. I heard that some high-level officials were concerned and sent people to investigate the case of Jin Ho going crazy, so I came to observe the situation." The typical criminal returned to the scene to observe, and also encountered the police investigating the case. Lu Chang'an, "What else have you done?" Li Hongfang, "Did you see it? I saw two cars pretending to be blocking the road, so I bumped between them. These people really just care about money and don't think about the bad influence they will have on the campus." Lu Chang'an couldn't help but frowned. How could he be so embarrassed? Could the impact be as bad as yours? Emotionally, do you think that by ramming two cars, you are enforcing justice and that it has positive educational significance? Lu Chang'an didn't say much, and just sent another message: "The two cars you hit, one was Qin Yanan's Bentley, and the other was the hunky L5 owned by your former boss, the third wife of the Zhu family." Li Hongfang, who had been replying to messages very quickly, seemed to have been disconnected from the internet. Lu Chang'an put away his mobile phone and looked sideways at Zhu Huntang, who was drawing sheep dung balls seriously next to him. Regardless of what she was painting, Zhu Huntang showed a serious expression. She restrained her usual overly energetic attitude and calmly looked like an exquisite doll, with long eyelashes like lush grass leaves. The clear light flowing in the bright eyes, the delicate and soft tip of the nose, and the bright red and delicate lips all look like what a beauty should look like. Although she looked like a well-behaved little princess, she was actually a naughty boy who was beaten every day. Lu Chang'an folded his hands on his chest and silently looked at this rare little animal. "Do you like me more and more the more you look at me?" Zhu Huntang felt his gaze and said without raising his head, and framed the sheep dung balls in his painting. There are 9 frames in total to show that this is the proud and aloof Father Long who excitedly posted on WeChat moments after discovering that the baby fairy sheep could poop balls of sheep dung by itself. "Is it possible?" Lu Chang'an denied expressionlessly. "It would be great if you went to school with me since childhood." "It was not fun at all when I was in kindergarten." Zhu Huntang sighed deeply. "When I was in kindergarten, because I was too beautiful and a fairy baby, and the other children are different. Out of inferiority complex, they isolate me and don't dare to play with me." Zhou Dongdong has really been isolated. Lu Chang'an didn't believe it at all. "As for you, who dares to isolate you? The kindergarten belongs to my own family, and the other children are basically descendants of the Zhu family, etc." Zhu Huntang angrily hit Lu Chang'an. It would be fine if he didn't come to kindergarten with her. He also supported other children in isolating her. "Thinking about it, I feel regretful. If I had gone to kindergarten with Lu Chang'an back then, with my innocent, beautiful, and lovely appearance as a child, wouldn't I have conquered him long ago?" Under her long-term, deep, and painstaking planning, he would definitely hand over the Zhu Fenglai sword sect's overseas assets, secret treasures within the sect, and the position of sect leader with both hands. Alas, this is all due to the poor fortune of the Kyushu Fenglai sword section. It had no chance to usher in a truly wise and powerful sect leader early on, and could only continue to evolve into a debauched place full of erotic secrets, waiting hard for the heir to take over, clean up the unhealthy tendencies and carry forward the sect. After class in the afternoon, Su Mei left the underground base of Hunan University and took Zhu Huntang back. There was a meeting to be held in the evening. Recently, Juncha is convening an international think tank forum. Many of them are members of the think tank under Su Mei. They were originally notified by Zhu Huntang. The theme of the meeting is, how to fight against extraordinary beings and ride on his neck to dominate. Blessing, and the ability to gently hold the lamb's hooves and play with it. When Su Mei came to Juncha, she naturally couldn't let the meeting be held with this theme, but Zhu Huntang, who no longer had any interest, had to attend. Yan Qingcheng and Lu Yuwang no longer have to teach Zhu Huntang tonight. Yan Qingcheng has no intention of relaxing. He just wants to improve the courseware and carefully design some short stories and paragraphs, in order to make Zhu Huntang improve a little bit. A hint of interest in learning attracted her attention. "It is precisely because of my admiration for Professor Lu that I have to work harder to teach Zhu Huntang. With my independent personality and hard-working attitude, I can make him realize that she is excellent, rather than relying on being cute. Pretend to be cute to win Professor Liu's favor." Zhu Huntang sat in her mother's car, kicked off her shoes, leaned back on the seat, stretched her legs to put them on the small table in front of her, but she couldn't reach them and was too lazy to adjust the buttons, so she had to put her feet down and put them on the carpet. He kicked a few times to vent his dissatisfaction. "It is quite interesting to go to a conference that I am not interested in at all, rather than to exchange historical and cultural knowledge with Professor Lu. It is quite interesting to see Professor Lu stunned when listening to Zhu Huntang's eloquent remarks, and he is so impressed that he wants to kowtow to Zhu Huntang. You must have a sitting posture." Su Mei frowned. In fact, when she was in Antarctica, Su Mei would inevitably worry and miss her daughter, but when she returned to Juncha and saw her for the first time, her mood completely changed. "You need to have a sitting posture, but am I lying down now?" Zhu Huntang said this, but he still sat upright and clicked on the buttons with his fingers boredly. "Dandan liked to play like this. Every time I see a button, I want to poke it to see what happens. Zhu Huntang couldn't help laughing when he thought about the scene where Shang Guandandan, if he could become an astronaut, would push the rocket back and forth to launch other colleagues on the way to launch. Dandan was so funny. Su Mei just looked at her daughter calmly and didn't ask her what she was laughing at, because Zhu Huntang's mind often jumped thousands of miles away in an instant. By the way, Mom, I have made a great contribution and I haven't told you yet. Zhu Huntang pointed out the window. Basically, look, this is the country I have built for you. This level. Su Mei was unmoved. Under normal circumstances, Zhu Huntang's great achievements were no different from causing big disasters. But Zhu Huntang didn't have the ability to cause disasters that even Su Mei could not avoid. So Su Mei's my mind is still very peaceful, just listen to what she has to say. Before you came back, I told my biological father that when you come back we will go to the amusement park to play together, otherwise I won't be obedient. He agreed. Zhu Huntang tilted his head to the left and the right proudly. Let the twin ponytails swing back and forth. I often see Shang Guandandan doing this action, and it is really cute when I do it myself. Su Mei's hand that picked up the newspaper paused for a moment, then raised it again, blocking it in front of her. Facing Zhu Huntang, she only showed her light bangs, her smiling eyes were hidden behind the newspaper, and her tone remained the same. Calmly, oh, that's good. Actually, I haven't been to any amusement parks. Baojun Group has invested in an amusement park project in Junsha, but that is something Zhongqing is concerned about. Su Mei only knows about such a project and has never reviewed the relevant documents. It's just an amusement park after all, even Baojun Group is not Su Mei's core industry. He also agreed to wear parent-child clothes with us today. Zhu Huntang put a finger on the center of the newspaper, and sure enough, he saw his mother's rare smile of shyness but full of sweet expectation. What kind of parent-child clothes? Su Mei and Zhu Huntang have never worn parent-child clothes, but once the Zhu family took a group photo, Su Mei and Zhu Huntang were wearing Chong Sam's. I don't know if that counts. Zhu Huntang showed Su Mei the pattern of the sheep doll costume. Dressed like this, Su Mei couldn't imagine herself wearing this thing. She looked so dignified. Anyway, Lu Chang'an agreed to wear it. It's up to you if you don't wear it. When others see that we are father and daughter, I will be satisfied. Zhu Huntang turned off his phone and said casually. I'll wear it, Su Mei said quickly, coughing slightly. After all, it's rare to go to an amusement park with you, and there are so many people wearing parent-child clothes to go to the amusement park. By the way, why did you call him your biological father? He is my stepfather, I know that, but I feel that he loves me deeply, just like a biological father, a man who can subconsciously show up and resist me with his body even before her mother can react. This hurt man, isn't he worthy of being my biological father? I have already sworn that he is the man I, Zhu Huntang, love most in my life. I will not fall in love with any ordinary person, only him. Zhu Huntang raised his hands and swore. Of course, my love is different from the love you women have for him. You just want to possess his body, but I have broken away from this low-level pursuit. Sooner or later, he will be captured by my love. Willingly let me ride on his neck to dominate, and bring the master of the 9 provinces Fenglai sword section. Ah, it hurts so much. Before Zhu Huntang finished speaking, Su Mei gave him a slap in the face. Happy Father's Day to me. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I'm really immortal. Author, Chulian Kui Kan Ru Xiahua. Chapter 1036. After all, a child's education is a process of induction. Just like many, many years ago, he stood on land and looked at the creatures in the water. Under his temptation, they finally crawled from the water to the land and began the history of life evolution. The journey of China-Singapore. In addition to educating Zhu Huntang, Lu Chang'an also went back to educate Zhou Dongdong and Shang Guandandan. The tool for induction was the new tablet he bought this morning. After crossing the Xiangjiang Bridge, Lu Chang'an turned a corner and went to the vegetable market. Since the murder of Fui Vegetable Company, there has been a certain shock in the vegetable market. After all, no matter good rules or bad rules, they are all rules. The person who made the rules was killed. Some people habitually follow the past rules, while some people then he began to try to become the one who reformulates the rules and grasps the distribution of benefits. The business of the hawkers was not affected at all, except that the prices were no longer uniform. Customers would shout randomly depending on their age, gender, and clothing, and customers would start bargaining again. Some people who did not have stalls in the vegetable market casually spread a piece of rainproof cloth outside and piled up cheap vegetables collected from various channels. The business was better than that in the market, and they did not have to pay rent, so their profits increased greatly. The people in the management office were very nervous and didn't care at all at this time. The market is preparing to organize a group of people to maintain order and expel outside vendors, but people from the public security department are rushing back and forth, making people afraid to act rashly. In an emergency, if a conflict occurs and you are arrested as a suspect or a related person, what should you do? In short, hidden in the chaos is the life philosophy of ordinary people. If you can live on, then so be it. There are many more types of ingredients sold in the vegetable market. Lu Chang'an also saw someone selling scavengers, trying to fool people who have never seen the world. The citizens said it was African snakehead fish. The scavenger's scientific name is leopard catfish, Nian. It has hard skin and thick flesh. It is ugly and unpalatable. It can still open its mouth to breathe after being dried and thrown into the water. It can still swim around after cutting off its head and throwing it into the water. It belongs to the extremely tenacious vitality has led to the proliferation of alien species that are difficult to deal with. Snakehead fish is snakehead. In some places, it is also called mullet, raw fish, fortune fish, snakefish, etc. It is not only delicious and nutritious, but also has high medicinal value. A fisherman will feel unlucky when he meets a scavenger. It's natural to catch snake-headed fish. Lu Chang'an chatted with the seller of African blackfish for a while, and found out that two beauties came here in the afternoon to ask about the vegetable company, and knew that they were Qinyanan and Qinzasi. This Qinzasi, seeing how thoughtful she is, Lu Chang'an is also willing to help her catch the real culprit. As for the short-term chaos in the market, he doesn't feel guilty or inappropriate. After all, his starting point is not to protect the people. Interests of the masses and social stability. Of course, in the long run, interests and stability are still maintained. This is all incidental, and he has no intention of showing off his merits. After a short period of chaos, order will still return. As for whether the order is better or worse, it is unknown. Judging from Lu Chang'an's life experience, when human beings seek benefits, blood and death are very important to them. The shock cannot be sustained for long. So Lu Chang'an found a stall that actually sold blackfish and bought a few fish back. OM. 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 As soon as I walked downstairs, I heard Zhou Dongdong's cries, which had a simple rhythm, were boring and lacked variety, and could only be howled. Lu Chang'an quickly quickened his pace and arrived at Zhou Shuling's house. He saw Zhou Shuling still giving Songdazi a bath in the bathroom, and Zhou Dongdong standing outside wrapped in a bath towel and howling. The two children's smelly and dirty clothes were scattered on the ground. Pants. What's wrong? You two transformed into dung sea maggots and were just fished out, Lu Chang'an asked caringly when he saw Zhou Dongdong, who was willing to help others. Zhou Dongdong wiped his eyes and continued to cry. He obviously did something good today, but he still got beaten. He felt that there must be something wrong with the world, and that the children couldn't do anything. Wang Meng had to pick up Songdazi later today, so she asked Songdazi and Zhou Dongdong to go back here first. She would come directly here to pick up Songdazi later. The two of them were so happy that they could go home together after school, so they ran away directly. I went to the park to play, and then they turned up all the mud in a ditch, saying that a little duck fell into the water and they were trying to save the little duck, Zhou Shuling said in the bathroom. It turned out that he had the courage to save the little duck that fell into the water. This was a good deed done by a brave person. It deserves commendation, but how could he be beaten? Where's that little duck? Lu Chang'an asked. Zhou Dongdong quickly ran to the window and pointed to the ditch downstairs, indicating that the little duck had been rescued and placed there. So today you rescued the little duck from one ditch and put it in another ditch. Zhou Dongdong, I want to interview you. What's the point of doing this? Lu Chang'an couldn't understand. We were afraid that the little duck would drown, so we rescued it and put it in our own ditch, in the ditch. Zhou Dongdong's eyes widened and he scratched his messy hair. Huh? There seems to be something wrong. The teacher said that those who drown are those who can swim. If a duck can swim, it will drown, Songdazi defended loudly inside. Although Zhou Dongdong suggested this matter, Songdazi also felt that there was something wrong at the time, but since we did it together, of course we have to find reasons to defend what our good friends do. That's it. With Songdazi's support, Zhou Dongdong suddenly felt confident. He put his hands on his waist and stretched the towel so hard that it fell off. Lu Chang'an helped her pick up the bath towel and wipe her hair again, then took the clothes on the sofa and put them on for her. According to your reasons, all the fish in the water were drowned, right? Lu Chang'an said with emotion. It is indeed a prestigious school. In the first grade, the teacher taught idioms such as those who are good at swimming drown, which are full of philosophy of life and educational significance. But these two children. Zhou Dongdong opened his mouth and stopped talking along with Songdazi in the bathroom. After a while, Wang Meng came over and picked up Songdazi and the little duck in the ditch. Lucine followed the car for 3 miles before returning. After all, he had been guarding the shivering little duck by the ditch just now. When Zhou Dongdong took Lucine upstairs, Lu Chang'an happened to fillet all the mullet and handed it to Zhou Shuling to do it. Her cooking skills are still good, but filleting fish is not something that a little cook can master casually. It seems to be a simple operation, but it requires a certain degree of proficiency, otherwise it is easy to hurt your hands. The key to marinating the fish fillets is to marinate them. After marinating, put them in boiling water, take them out and run them in cold water, then pour the sauce with hot oil, and finally pour it on the fish fillets. How do you measure whether you have succeeded? Shang Guan Dandan is here when you go home. When it's done, it means it's a success. Lu Chang'an briefly taught the method. The mullet meat is crispy, tender, and delicious. As long as the seasonings are not used randomly, most people can make it delicious. When I was young, mullet was very rare. It was much more expensive than ordinary fish. It was only used to stew soup to supplement nutrition for patients or pregnant women and children, Zhou Shuling said with some emotion. She hadn't made mullet at home for a long time. She went outside. When eating hot pot, Lu Chang'an would order mullet fillets and eat them hot. Yeah, in the poor years, I always felt that rare ingredients had to be used to stew soup so as not to waste. Stir-fried vegetables can only be eaten to taste, the same is true for soft-shelled turtles. Next time we will braise a few big soft-shelled turtles to eat, Lu Chang'an recalled said. It's a pity that the days when you could catch soft-shelled turtles by putting a piece of pig liver on the needle and throwing it into the pond are gone forever. Little ducks are good friends of humans. You can't eat little ducks, Zhou Dongdong, who was standing aside with his head held high, suddenly said. Except for you, no one has ever considered whether to eat ducklings. Lu Chang'an discovered this keenly. Zhou Dongdong took 2 steps back and looked at Lu Chang'an in shock. Was he the only child who wanted to eat everything? Zhou Shuling was cooking upstairs. Zhou Dongdong originally wanted to do his homework, but Lu Chang'an asked her to follow him downstairs to play. Zhou Dongdong decided to forget about doing homework and jumped up and down with a yellow plastic chicken. He followed Lu Chang'an downstairs. Shang Guandandan did not wait until Zhou Shuling prepared the meal before going home. The afternoon card game ended early, and she had already returned and sat next to the electric heating table. She had the payment code card, mobile phone, and scorebook in front of her, and was doing calculations. For each income today, see if anyone has received less money. Seeing Lu Chang'an's return, Shang Guandandan looked at him with wide eyes, hoping that he could understand from what the Queen Mother was doing that she was good at managing property, and she was very suitable for holding financial power. I hope that after he meets her eyes, he will consciously hand over his bank card, or bind a family card to her, open a shared account or something. Lu Chang'an was not as capable as the bread man, and he did not know how to figure out the superior's intentions. He did not see the meaning in Shangwen's indifferent eyes. "What did you buy?" Seeing Lu Chang'an take out a big box from his bag, Shang Guandandan stood up and walked towards Lu Chang'an and stretched his head to look around. Zhou Dongdong moved a small stool to the side, knelt on it, and Shang Guandandan surrounded him on the left and right. "Tablet, this is not a rare thing. Shang Guandandan and Zhou Dongdong have seen it." Lu Chang'an opened the box and put the packaging aside. Shang Guandandan picked up the tablet and touched it around, saying with surprise, "What a beautiful little TV." Zhou Dongdong skillfully tore off the plastic film, and the two of them touched the screen together. In an instant, the brand new tablet was covered with fingerprints, just like a prototype without a film. "This is for you to play with." However, Zhou Dongdong, you are a primary school student. Just like playing with a mobile phone, you cannot play for too long. "Do you understand?" Lu Chang'an warned and found the power button. Zhou Dongdong was pressing it hard. "Got it." Zhou Dongdong successfully turned on the phone. Children who are not good at learning are usually better at playing with mobile phones. "Wow, what a beautiful little TV. I will definitely play with it every day from now on." Instead of the bigger TV, Shang Guandandan pressed Lu Chang'an's shoulder while jumping up and down, pointing at Lu Chang'an's computer. Feeling that she raised her hand and touched his head again to show that he was a filial moth, Lu Chang'an had no reaction. Anyway, as long as she didn't come to grab the computer, Lu Chang'an would be satisfied. So Lu Chang'an actively took the tablet to complete the startup settings, logged into the store account, and downloaded some Kizi apps suitable for Zhou Dongdong, including chess and card games and gongda games that were more suitable for Shang Guandandan. After finishing, Lu Chang'an handed the tablet to them to play with, cleaned up the packaging garbage, and went upstairs to see Zhou Shuling. She was pouring hot oil into a large bowl. The sound of the sizzling oil exuding delicious temptation, the fish fillets were slightly roll up and shake, the sauce is heated and seeps into the texture of the fish, and the whole bowl of oily mullet fillets is full of color, flavor. Seeing him coming up, Zhou Shuling took a chopstick and fed it to him, watching his reaction expectantly. "One more chopsticks," Lu Chang'an nodded. Zhou Shuling smiled and fed him another chopstick, and tasted it herself. It was indeed delicious. Today was another day to take care of Lu Chang'an's mouth. Because there were still a few dishes to cook, Zhou Shuling put the big bowl into a red lacquered lunch box to keep it warm and asked him to take it with him. Lu Chang'an went downstairs again and put the lunch box on the dining table. He saw Shang Guandandan and Zhou Dongdong playing games attentively. He nodded with satisfaction and went to turn on the computer. It's time to retouch Zhou Shuling's photos. The retouching process requires slow work and meticulous work. It requires a lot of time and operations. Only adequate preparation in the early stage can reduce the need for later repairs. This is what photographers often say: if you can do it in the early stage, don't wait for the later stage. Fortunately, Zhou Shuling is not the kind of little fairy whose figure, appearance, and skin need to be adjusted, and this saves Lu Chang'an a lot of trouble. While he was retouching the picture, something like a soft and warm little animal raised his arm and came over. Shang Guandandan squeezed into Lu Chang'an's arms holding her thermos. She raised her hand and pressed a few times on the back of Lu Chang'an's hand to let the computer display the desktop. Then she stretched out her white and delicate fingers and clicked on the Steam icon above. Finding that Lu Chang'an was unresponsive, Shang Guandandan put down the thermos bottle, turned around, put Lu Chang'an's legs together, climbed on top and sat down, then tilted his head back and pressed his chin with his head, and yelled yet twice to remind him to pay attention to himself. While shaking his little feet that kicked off his shoes, he pointed at the Steam icon again. Lu Chang'an found a piece of paper, drew a circle on it with many, then cut out the circle and put it on his face, then looked at her with an incomprehensible expression. I want to play a game. Shang Guandandan twisted his body and looked at his confusing behavior, then continued to urge him with his head on his chin. You just said that you will never play with my computer again, only with the tablet. Lu Chang'an had to remind the Queen Mother, who thought she survived by being cute but in fact she was just annoying. But I prefer to sit in your arms and play games with you. Other mothers play games like this with their babies. Shang Guandandan didn't really care about any golden words. The meaning of maternal love is that because of she loves her baby, so she is as stubborn as a mountain and insists on her own opinions. She cannot shake her will to play games with her baby. Have you ever seen other mothers sitting in the arms of their babies? Lu Chang'an resisted saying this, because saying so would be equivalent to admitting that he was her baby, which was too shameful. Look, Xiaoling and Dongdong are just playing games together, Shang Guandandan pointed behind him. Lu Chang'an then turned around and found that Zhou Shuling and Zhou Dongdong were grabbing the tablet to play with. Mom, go watch TV. No, this game is fun. I'll play it for a while and give it to you. You don't even know how to play, and you don't even pick up those gold coins. I want to pick up the blood bottle. You're dead again. I'll play it again, and I won't die this time. Lu Chang'an took off the paper circle on his face. This was completely different from what he expected. He didn't even consider Zhou Shuling, a little mother who would compete with her children for tablets to play with. Can I still return a tablet that has been opened? Lu Chang'an thought this and silently opened the Steam icon. Letting Shang Guandandan play here, Lu Chang'an took Zhou Dongdong, who also had no fun because he failed to fight for the tablet, to sit down at the dining table to eat. As soon as the two of them sat down, Shang Guandandan and Zhou Shuling came over to eat. After all, eating together is more important. How can we delay eating because of playing games? I'm really immortal. Author, Chu Lian Kui Kan Ru Xiahua. Chapter 1037. After finishing the meal, Lu Chang'an experimented with the behavior patterns of these three animals several times. When he goes to use the computer, Shang Guandandan will definitely come to join in the fun. When he went to play with his tablet, Zhou Dongdong and Zhou Shuling went to grab his computer. Zhou Dongdong wanted to play games, but Zhou Shuling wanted to see the photos Lu Chang'an had edited for her. At this time, Shang Guandandan asked to play a game with him that two people could share a tablet computer. When Lu Chang'an wanted to play a joint game with Zhou Dongdong, Shang Guandandan lay on his back like a turtle shell, while Zhou Shuling came to direct Zhou Dongdong, and even tried to play in her place. Only when Lu Chang'an and Zhou Shuling play games together will Shang Guandandan and Zhou Dongdong run to play on the computer together. Anyway, after a while, Lu Chang'an took the three of them out for a walk. What's so fun about computers and what's so fun about tablets? Shang Guandandan and Zhou Dongdong held hands, kicked their legs and waved their hands in perfect sync, jumping and jumping ahead. Zhou Dongdong has short legs, but Shang Guandandan is an elegant queen mother with short steps, so the two can coordinate their steps. I'll go to the amusement park to check out the spots tomorrow, and I'll take you three with me next time. You haven't been to the amusement park yet, right? Lu Chang'an and Zhou Shuling walked behind. When I was a kid, there were big trucks that brought a lot of amusement facilities to the town. They would be there for half a month or even longer. There were also carousels and the like. Does that count? After Zhou Shuling finished speaking, she immediately added, but even this counts. You also want to take us to the amusement park. Zhou Shuling's favorite thing was to go out with Lu Chang'an. The happiest experience she had ever had since she was a child was when he took Zhou Shuling to Nanshan Ranch and the zoo. Her Zhou Dongdong is also very happy. In the past, I didn't have the time, energy, or money to give up, but now I mainly don't want to be alone or take Zhou Dongdong to play alone. Zhou Shuling always feels that she has no knowledge and will get flustered when she goes outside. But following him makes her feel at ease. It feels like really going out to relax and have fun. You are saying that I should still take you guys with me, but in fact you are worried that I will only take Dongdong and Dandan with me and leave you at home, right? Lu Chang'an asked with a smile. Why are you always worried about this? Last time I went to Nanshan Ranch, I asked around to see if I would take you there. Zhou Shuling blushed a little and had to answer honestly, because I'm not a child, and women are often left to look after the house. In the past, when a family went out, they would always have a housekeeper. The main reason was that the living standard was low and public security was not good. Picking locks, opening doors, and theft were common, so we had to have a housekeeper. You see now, often the door is not closed. Have you ever lost anything at home? Lu Chang'an touched Zhou Shuling's head. The little woman would not look at the changes in people's living habits as the times change with the perspective of development. It turns out there is such a thing as leaving someone to look after the house. Zhou Shuling nodded vigorously, feeling like she was increasing her knowledge again, but it was not like she had never lost things at home. Zhou Dongdong would often lose $1 or $2, and they were all picked up by Zhou Shuling when she was cleaning the room. Usually she didn't lose anything. She would return it to her immediately. After Zhou Dongdong did the housework again, Zhou Shuling took it out and returned it to her as a reward. At this time, the two little people who were jumping and singing stopped in front of a cooked food stall. They looked sideways at Lu Chang'an and Zhou Shuling walking over, pointing expectantly at the various foods on the cooked food stall. Just when Lu Chang'an was about to say that you guys ate so much at night, Zhou Shuling smiled and took a pair of food tongs to Shangguan Dandan. Take whatever you want to eat. Shangguan Dandan was very happy. When he went shopping with Lu Chang'an, he always tried to make eye contact with him when he wanted to buy or eat. Moreover, he might not be able to understand, and he would often pretend not to see it. But it was different with Zhou Shuling here. As long as Shangguan Dandan looked at something, she would buy him whatever he wanted. Zhou Dongdong is a child and does not have the right to use food tongs to choose by herself. She has to lie on the edge of the glass cabinet and ask Sister Dandan to help her choose, because she knows that if she wants to eat something, she will most likely need her mother's approval, but as long as Sister Dandan clips it, you can buy anything. This lazy pig's trotters is good, buy more of them. Lu Chang'an ordered 6 pig's trotters. Shangguan Dandan picked out a handful of meats: braised pig head meat, spicy edamame, fried pork tongue, braised fried duck, braised beef brisket, spicy tripe, spicy pork tripe, spiced pigtail, rib steak. The spicy sausage looked pretty good too. It was delicious. Shangguan Dandan hesitated for a moment and decided not to eat the pig pudding cake. Lu Chang'an stopped by and bought 4 glasses of juice, and then the 4 of them walked around and turned to the front of the Poza Street police station. There happened to be a stone table and chairs for tourists to rest next to it, and the 4 of them sat there and started eating and drinking. It happened that Shangguan Dandan and Zhou Shuling were also given legal education. This is necessary. After all, of the 2 of them, Shangguan Dandan is lawless, and many of his words and deeds are often inconsistent with the core socialist values. For example,
The last time Go Shanhai and his son came to Zhou Shuling's store to cause trouble, Shang Guandandan wanted Lu Chang'an to killing them, and feeling that he would be unlovable if his body was splashed with blood, his thoughts are different from ordinary people's reactionary thoughts, and he regards human life as nothing. As for Zhou Shuling, she has a weak temperament and is often bullied. She does not know how to take up legal weapons to defend her rights. Her main coping methods are to hide and cry and look at Lu Chang'an with an aggrieved expression. Zhou Dongdong, this creature is already in a state of being unable to interact, so naturally it is impossible to educate her on the law. The example he chose was He Base Han, a famous gangster in the 1990s. He told the story of the extreme crimes He Base Han committed. He also used cases to describe that era of chaos and lack of security. Zhou Shuling was shocked and frightened when he heard that. I'm glad I haven't experienced that kind of life. In fact, she has also experienced it, but she was too young and has no memory. Those born in the 1970s and 1980s have more accurate and clear memories of that era. Shang Guandandan was controlled by the meat and calmly stuffed a long pigtail into his mouth. Although he had a lot to say, he didn't want to reveal that the Queen Mother had eaten a lot when he opened his mouth, so he had to first let's talk after swallowing. After Lu Chang'an finished speaking, Shang Guandandan took a long piece of beef ribs in his hand and said with some vigilance, "Are you talking about this because you are afraid that if I go around killing people, I will also be shot?" Lu Chang'an nodded. Just as her half-meter-long beef ribs stretched out in front of his face, he opened his mouth and bit off a section and started eating. "Ah, my beef ribs," Shang Guandandan puffed up her cheeks. She liked to hold a long one. She would feel satisfied even if she didn't eat it. Who knew that he would bite off a piece of it, and she suddenly felt, this beef rib is as imperfect as the electric pony car that had its head smashed when it was first bought. He just hates it. Zhou Shuling took the beef ribs from Shang Guandandan and used the knife that came with the purchase of cooked food to scrape the meat from the beef ribs for Shang Guandandan to eat. Shang Guandandan originally wanted to eat the beef ribs, but Zhou Shuling's handling of it would obviously make the Queen Mother's eating appearance more elegant, so she had no objection. What if I didn't die when I was shot? Shang Guandandan was a little worried that he would be shot sooner or later, and had to think about more realistic issues. If you are not killed by the first shot on the execution ground, you will be shot again. There is no way to escape the death penalty if you are not killed by the first shot. Someone was shot on the execution ground and was determined to be dead at the time. On the way to the crematorium, he opened his eyes and was resurrected. He was also shot. "One shot," Lu Chang'an said. "I mean they shot at me with machine guns, but it was blocked by my hair." Shang Guandandan watched TV. This was a relatively common thing. "I suggest you die first and then be reborn. You will definitely be resurrected anyway, right?" Shang Guandandan couldn't help but nodded, and decided to do this when he killed too many people and was captured and shot. But, Shang Guandandan raised his head, and Lu Chang'an's eyes indeed flashed with a probing light. He was trying to trick Shang Guandandan again. "Ahem, now it's mainly lethal injection." Lu Chang'an confirmed that Shang Guandandan has the ability to be reborn, which is somewhat different from immortality. She is indeed a little firebird, so it is not surprising to have this ability to be reborn. "Why are you talking about such terrible things? We are all normal people." "Normal people will not be shot." Zhou Shuling shaved off the beef ribs and gave one box to Lu Chang'an and one to Shang Guandandan. She saw both ends. Some of the beef ribs were not shaved very clean, so I took them and gnawed them. The beef ribs cost less than 30 yuan per catty in the vegetable market. If you marinate them, the price will double. It would be a waste. "That's right," Lu Chang'an and Shang Guandandan nodded together. Zhou Shuling then put a handful of meat, pig head meat and minced meat into fine pieces with a knife, spread it on a piece of pig belly, then covered it with a layer of beef belly, and invented a new meat-on-meat sandwich for Shang Guandandan to eat. Shang Guandandan was extremely satisfied with the meat sandwich in his hands. He tilted his head and looked at Zhou Shuling, thinking that the next person to sleep with must be Dongdong's mother. If anyone dares to make Dongdong's mother lose a hair, I will kill him. If everyone in their family is not a good person, then I will kill his whole family, Shang Guandandan said very clearly. After all, the Queen Mother has kept pace with the times and is very adaptable to the legal and moral requirements of modern society. If she killed someone in ancient times, the whole family would not have to worry about whether there were good people or innocent people in the family. This is the entrance of the Poza Street police station. Several police uncles who have just finished their work look at Shang Guandandan, who loudly declares that he wants to kill the whole family. Do you want to eat my edamame? Shang Guandandan hesitated a little and said uncertainly, I bought a lot of edamame and could share it with others, but she didn't want to share the meat sandwich made by Zhou Shuling with others. And quickly stuffed it into his mouth. Several police uncles looked at each other, smiled and shook their heads, but did not take it seriously. When the little girl had something to do, she would walk around the area. Sometimes she would push an electric car with another child. The patrolling police comrades, most of us have seen him before, but I didn't expect him to speak so cruelly. He sounded like a character from Guarding the Liberated West. At this time, Qin Yanan and Qin Zisi walked out of the police station. The bar street where the strange beasts often hang out was originally under the jurisdiction of the police station.